19. Scott Monroe, I have a challenge for you, my friend. For me, a celebration of 2013 and 2019, I apologize, is all about meeting people in real life, taking this virtual platform and rendering it real by hooking up at events in real life. And you and I have been speaking about it, and you agree. I've got a challenge for you, though.
Okay.
Are you up for a challenge?
A bit ominous, but yeah, go for it.
I'm going to check in with you. Message me when you're ready. But at some point in this stream, I would like to check in with you when you're sat next to another barfly. You up for it?
Yeah, I'll give that a go.
See you soon, buddy. See you soon.
Okay.
Hello, whiskey folk. Welcome to the very, very last vPub of 2019. And of course, we're getting to that age where we're all going to say the year's gone so quickly, and it really, really has. But for me, it's been a fantastic whiskey year. And I almost feel like every year for whiskey, it seems to be getting better and better for me as well. And when I come up with this idea to kind of have a kind of end of year celebration of 2019, it was obvious that what I wanted to celebrate from the beginning, from the very beginning, was the community. Now, back in the Thanksgiving live stream, you might remember that we were all kind of giving up thanks for various things. It was quite a fun little thing we had going. And I was struck by just how many people out there felt the exact same way that I did, that we were all very, very grateful that we've managed to find each other here through YouTube, through all our social media channels and things. But what 2019 has been for me is finding events and ways for us to meet up in the real world. And not always here in Scotland. I've been fantastically blessed with so many of you coming to visit me here in Scotland, but I've also been able to travel down south, across to Europe and across to the States and meet so many more of you in 2019 as well. And that's what I would like to celebrate. That's what my 2019 has been about. And the highlights that I'm going to share with you later in the stream is going to be very much to do with that. Yes, I feel that I do have to talk about a whiskey of the year. I'm kind of wondering what that's all about, actually, kind of whiskey of the year and things, but lots of folk ask. It's been a wee bit tricky this year to come up with one. There's been 2 or 3 that was almost called, and then I changed my mind. But I'm going to have a kind of mini rant a wee bit later on about price with you all. And the whiskey of the year that I'm choosing this year is one that I feel comfortable nominating based on not only its quality and its presentation, but its price. So I hope that's going to be of interest to you too. I've got lots of guests joining me. It's going to be a very informal thing. They're just going to be dropping in. People from other YouTube channels and things, other creators that want to drop in and talk about their 2019 and share their highlight, their whiskey, whatever it is they want to share with us, and say hello to all you guys as well. Wonderful to see so many of you in. Fantastic to welcome you all here. I hope everything is going to work. I pulled my chair up about 45 minutes ago in front of this setup, and we had no internet in the house, literally no internet connection whatsoever. But it came back on, and I'm very grateful it did too. Let's jump in to the lounge and say hello to the barflies. I'll try and say hello to as many of you as I can. And if you are wanting to share something from your 2019, try and get my attention. And just use that at Aquaviti or type Aquaviti to get my attention, and I'll try and catch it in the stream. We have Alistair Gray. Good to see you, Alistair. Luna Aaron is here as well from Germany. Always wonderful to see you in, Luna. Carl Van Wallingham, I managed to meet you this year as well as Luna. I met Carl at the Scotch Malt Whisky Society through in Edinburgh when he travelled across. Fantastic to see you in, Carl. Whiskey Dodie George is in as well. Good to see you. Tom Harrison from Chicago, you star. Always nice to welcome you, Tom. Fantastic. Radek is here as well. Wonderful stuff, Radek. I hope you've received your package. Our baggy Andy is here from down south as well. I've managed to meet Andy a few times this year. It's been wonderful as well. Stuart Peel is here. I've met Stuart. Fantastic to see you. And his brother. Fantastic to see you in, Stuart. Good to have you. Mark Goins is here. And he's saying, I just clicked to allow that comment, Mark, and the chat jumped. I'm sorry, I lost it. I'll try and catch it again. He's saying, yes, Bastard's Ball was a highlight of the year. So awesome. I agree with you completely, Mark. Nick Keane is here as well, saying his whiskey of the year has to be Ardbeg 10, based on just how many bottles I've got through. I have to say, Ardbeg 10, somebody asked me on a recycled review today, saying, why haven't you reviewed the Ardbeg 10 yet? And I need to get to it. There's one through there with only 1 or 2 drams left in it. And that needs to appear in a recycled review soon. I'm not letting any spoilers out to say that I actually really like Ardbeg 10. I like it a lot. I think it's very, very solid. And I have to say it's probably one of the best value Ardbegs, if not the best. Bram Butterham is in. Good to see you, Bram. Macallan Fine and Rare is also here. The doc from Germany, you star. I've obviously managed to hang out with you a couple of times this year. Malted Man Cave Keith, he's also going to be joining us a wee bit later as well from over in Ohio. Wonderful to have Keith in. Dom's Whiskey is here. Jimmy Legg, Blair, of course, Blair, wonderful to have you. Alexandru is in as well. He's saying, price, yes, interesting, please. Price has become a big thing this year. Anybody that's caught Ralphie's recent videos, he's kind of making a lot of noise about pricing and things like that. And I think we do have to bear it. It's easy to get caught up and just continually spend more and more and more on whiskey. And sometimes it's nice to take a step back and check yourself a little bit. And to check the producers, honestly. Mashburn is in. Ross, great to see you as well. Sunday Evening Scotch Michael, wonderful to have you in. Dom's Whiskey, Graham Young from the States. Sorry, from Canada. Graham, I do apologise. I made that mistake again. Aaron McFault. Can I raise a wee glass to my friend Aaron McFault and tell you that it's his birthday today? That's the thing about Facebook these days. It kind of tells on people when it's their birthday. It's Aaron's birthday today, and he messaged me earlier to say that he would be joining tonight after I wished him a happy birthday. And I'd just like to say many happy returns, Aaron McFault. It's been a pleasure to hang out with you more than once this year, and I look forward to more of it next year. Many happy returns, my friend. Meant to look at one of your samples to share. Maybe get a chance to do it a wee bit later, Era. James McGoran is here. Fantastic, James. Malcolm Douglas, E.T. Smith, Whiskey Weekend Dram, Donald Rance, Gregor McQuee, Lee J. Brown. That looks like a new name. Welcome in, Lee J. Good to have you here. Lee Hosey Haddington Whiskey. Fantastic to have you again, Lee. Some of the participants are here, obviously, from last vPub's Blind Challenge. Patrick Cohn. Patrick, fantastic to welcome you in, my friend. Wonderful to have you. Got to meet you when I was out in Texas this year, and it's a pleasure to welcome you in on a Sunday vPub. Who do we have? Alchemist Sevi is here. Hoping to see Sevi a wee bit later as well. Ben Demon Hunter. So many of you joining, and fantastic to have you all. So yes, my 2019 has been fantastic from a whiskey perspective. Fantastic generally. It's been a very good year in general for me. But for whiskey, it's been beyond what I could have reasonably expected. The channel's doing very, very well, despite me having challenges making pre-recorded content. Anybody that's waiting on that, I do apologise. I will get onto it in the new year, of course. But yes, it's been super busy, of course. But the channel seems to keep growing, and I very much hope that that's because the community is keeping growing as well. And I think we're blessed, and I always say this, we're blessed with a very good, very positive, very well-connected, very supportive community, very inclusive community, because we're all in it for the whiskey. We enjoy this whiskey so much as a connector of people. And I think that we need to work as hard as we possibly can to nurture that, to keep that, to protect that as long as we can. Because in the digital age where people hide behind their screens and their keyboards, it's all too easy to encounter negativity and people trying to be funny when they're just being rude and cruel. We don't have that in whiskey, and long may it continue. Whiskey Novice is saying, good to have you, my friend. I have to say my whiskey highlight of 2019 was Springbank 21. Wow. I had it in a tiny basement bar in the Royal Mile in Edinburgh, visiting Scotland in July 2020 for a proper tour. Can't wait. Good for you. Sounds like an absolute cracker to have tried, and obviously a nice place to be able to try it as well. Daniel Vermas as well is saying, my wife called you the electronic babysitter. I agreed. I guarantee you my wife would not refer to me as that. Sunday Evening Scotch Michael is saying, I shared a list of 10 favourite whiskey moments of 2019 on my Instagram. It's more than a moment, but one of them is these vPubs. Cheers to you and the community of barflies here. Michael, I hope you tagged me in that. There was a lot of Instagram notifications came through today, but I didn't have time to get to them. I hope you tagged me, Michael, so I can see that. That'd be wonderful to see. But thank you so much, my friend, for mentioning me in one of your highlights for 2019. Your whiskey, Matthias from over in Denmark is in saying, Merry Christmas, Glenn, going 25 for me tonight. Hey, you're not slumming it, are you, Matt? Good for you. I'll raise a glass and I'll say thank you very much, my friend. And I hope 2020 brings you lots of success in life and on the channel, my friend. Cheers, Matt. Orange Will, that looks like a new name. He's saying Aquavite. Loving your output, Roy. Keep it up. Had the pleasure of meeting you yet. Not had the pleasure of meeting you yet, but will endeavour to remedy that in 2020. Absolutely, my friend. I hope to be able to try and work some events, or at least attend and continue that thing that I enjoyed so much this year, to get out there and festivals, tastings, distillery visits, whatever it may be. So yes, stay in touch and let me know where you're going to be next year. Tabitha Adams is in saying, Aquavite, my whiskey moment was trying a 25-year-old Yamazaki at the distillery in Kyoto. Wow, you're not messing about there, are you, Tabitha? It was delicious. I got to try the Yamazaki 18 this year, but you're trumping me with the Yamazaki 25, and you're certainly trumping me being able to try it out in Kyoto. That's amazing, Tabitha. Good for you. Sunday Evening Scotch is saying, I did tag you. Good. I'll get a chance to catch it a wee bit later. Anthony Dunn is here. Good to have you, Anthony. He's saying, my highlight was a trip to Middleton and winning an Aquavite competition a few weeks back. Anthony, I have not sent your Kilkerran flight out yet, but Sevi has given me the port cask finish. I have the sample bottles here. There's no delay to getting your package out to you now, and I'll get it out to you very early in January. Please let me know when you get a hold of it, my friend. Congratulations to you once more, and nice to welcome you in, Anthony. Good to have you here. So this evening, I've invited a few channels, but just let me give you a rundown for what's happening for the rest of the day. It's a bit of a kind of a celebration of 2019 marathon that's happening. I'm going to be hanging out with you up until getting a bit close to 11 o'clock. The vPub time's a wee bit earlier. It's on a Sunday. It's during the holidays. I hope that works for everyone. And then eventually, after I've shared my content with you, my guests, and we've all had a nice time, I'm hoping to be able to pass you all along to the Scotch Test Dummies. And those guys have put together a fantastic lineup of fellow YouTube creators. They're hosting Mash and Drum, Jason. They're hosting Whiskey in the Six, Sipper Social Club, Jeremy and Rob. They're hosting the Whiskey Vault. Daniel Whittington is joining them, as well as Chad and Sarah from It's Bourbon Night. I hope I'm not forgetting anybody. But yes, a very, very busy show that they've got lined up as well. It's going to be quite something to hang out with the Scotch Test Dummies tonight. After the Scotch Test Dummies have been on for a couple of hours, they're going to continue the party going and pass the baton on to Dan and Sean over at Bourbon Junkies. What I will try to remember to do is at the end of this stream, I'll drop the Scotch Test Dummies live stream link into the chat so that you're able just to click on it and carry straight on across the Atlantic to Scott and Bart over at the Scotch Test Dummies. I am sipping this whiskey that appeared in the blind challenge last vPub. Was that last week? It was a week and a half ago, I think. I'm losing track of time. It's the Texas Mirador, and very delicious it is too. It's getting better by the dram. Cheers to you all. Simon Ray is here saying, Aquavite, my whiskey event of 2019 would have to be the Glasgow Whiskey Festival weekend, particularly the Sunday gathering. It's one of my highlights. Absolutely superb day as well, Simon. Fantastic to have welcomed you there. Great to meet so many folk and sample some great drams. That was what it was all about. We did a blind tasting. Then afterwards, we had an open bar where people brought along a bottle each to share, and a fantastic event it was too. Lunaran is saying my whiskey highlight was certainly Inter-Whiskey and meeting you and the lovely boys. Again, another fantastic event. It's really tough to choose a whiskey moment from 2019. It's just so many really cool things happened. And Frankfurt Inter-Whiskey this year, Luna, was an absolute highlight for me. And I've already mentioned about being able to meet you during that weekend was also a highlight as well. I agree with you fully. Gregor is saying, don't they always get better by the dram? More often than not, Gregor, they absolutely do. There's nothing like an open bottle to make a whiskey round out and become a wee bit better. And Lee Jose saying Aquavite, I loved that dram. Yeah, Lee, you managed to participate in the blind challenge. You managed to get a taste of the Texas Mirador. Very nice whiskey it is too. I tell you, when I was in Texas this year, I managed to taste a peated Balcones, and that's virtually indistinguishable from a very good quality Scotch whiskey. It was incredible. I don't know if it's out yet. I don't know if it's available to buy in the States, but it was magnificent. Texas are doing amazing things. We talked about it a lot, I know. Multi-Haggis Muncher Matthews in, saying Aquavite, highlight of the year, Campbelltown Festival 2019, absolute blast. I would love to make that in 2020. So much going on in May of 2020, though. I'm not sure if I could do it next year, Matthew, but I'd love to. Campbelltown Festival sounds epic. Whiskey Weekend Drama saying my highlight was the trip to Scotland. Glenfarclas tour was great. What a people there. Glenfarclas Chancellor's Cask, 25-year-old. Wow, sounds fantastic. And I agree with you. The tour at Glenfarclas is, they managed, despite their size, Glenfarclas, pretty big distillery, but they managed to keep a very kind of nice old worldly family feel about the place. And it's very, very welcoming as well. Eric Waite is in. You star, Eric. Good to see you. Good to welcome you, my friend. He's saying, thanks, 2019 was an amazing year. 2020 will be good, but maybe scaled back, as I might not be able to travel as much, but we'll see. Obviously, Eric's got his new job and he's living in his new place up in Sacramento now as well. Eric, I'm very glad to be able to welcome you in here, my friend. And obviously, I got to hang out with you on your birthday this year. Whiskey Radar, Roland is here. My whiskey highlight of the year was a special at-home whiskey tasting with my friends at my 40th birthday. We had Tomatin 36, Kalila 30, Benromac 35, St Magdalene 32, and a Glenfarclas 38. Roland, you were not messing around. My God. That does sound like it would be a pretty decent highlight of the year. Okay, so let's just get on with things. I have a few people that I'd like to welcome in and hang out with for a little bit, introduce you to. So many of them you're going to know, you're going to be very familiar with, you're going to know them very well, but maybe one or two of them you might not know so well. This guy, there's a chance that you knew him and you maybe lost touch with him a wee bit. But perhaps if you stayed subscribed to his channel, you'll have realized that he's appeared again. I will rewind back to 2015, 2016, I'm not sure, certainly 2017, before I was creating content for YouTube and sharing whiskey with you guys through YouTube. And one of the YouTubers I used to watch back then was Andy down in Manchester. I'm not sure exactly where he lives, but from his accent, I think it's Manchester. And I know that he was active or perhaps even responsible for starting the Manchester Whiskey Club. We'll ask him about that. But he's started to make videos again and share it on YouTube. And that's very, very good. There are lots and lots of new channels starting. There are lots of people I wanted to invite on. Time restrictions are obviously a big deal. But when Andy came back again, I sent him a comment straight away to say I was glad to see him back. And it popped into my head when I was doing this that I would like to reach out to him and invite him in and speak to Andy. So I'm going to reach over to Andy from Maltbox and say, welcome, my friend. How are you?
I'm very good, thanks, mate. And thanks very much for having me. Appreciate it.
It's good to see you here on this live stream. And it's good to see you back on YouTube as well.
Oh, thanks very much. It's good to be back. Really enjoying it. Took a bit too long out, to be honest with you. Really missed it. And like you said, like a little earlier on in your intro, I think one of the main things that's drawn me back is the community. It's left a big gaping hole in my soul. Yeah. So I've come back and really enjoying it.
I can imagine. The obvious thing is, and I just want to get it out of the way first, you and I are going to share a really nice dram together. I caught your video recently of the new Bimber release. I'm going to uncork that Bimber and share it with you now because you were really excited by it. But the obvious thing I have to ask you is, what hole did you fall down? Where did you go? What happened to Maltbox? It was over a year. It must be a year and a half you were away.
Yeah, it was about 2 years. And to be honest with you, it was all down to a new job. It took a lot more of my time up. There was a lot of traveling involved, and it just kind of got to the point where it took its toll a little bit. And I was finding less and less time to sort of be able to sit down for a couple of hours and create content, and actually sort of enjoy whiskey again. You know what I mean? It's something that, you know, you need to take time over, and it needs to be sort of a ritualistic experience. And I was finding increasingly that I couldn't give it the time it deserved. So I basically put it to one side, and now I'm back. I've thrown caution to the wind. You know, you got to work until you die, don't you? So I mean, I might as well enjoy the
jobs. Always get in the way, don't they?
Exactly, absolutely.
I don't know if you're a family man, but it's the family comes first, and then the day job, and then whiskey has to just kind of fit around our lives after that, right?
Exactly. Totally agree.
Now you're back. You've done probably half a dozen reviews. You've been back for 6 or 8 weeks now. Would you say?
Yeah, something about that. Yep.
Are you enjoying it already?
Yeah, I'm loving it. It's good to be back. It's good. It was really good to see. I think it was so sort of. It's got really, really nice. I got the fuzzies a little bit when I posted the first video again after so long, and straight away people were commenting, including yourself, and they were like, "Jesus, you're back!" And I'm like, happy days. People have actually still subscribed. It's a miracle. So thank you. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I wish. Imagine. I'd turn all water into whiskey, wouldn't I? I wouldn't be around for long. But no, it was really good to see that a couple of people, well, more than a couple, about 900 have stuck around, and do appreciate the patience.
I'll pay you a bit of a compliment as well, Andy, because back when I watched you before you took your hiatus, it was clear that you were passionate. It was clear that you were, let's say not collecting, but you were collecting a selection of whiskies. You were opening them, you were enjoying them, you were sharing them, you were exchanging a lot of samples. I remember you used to do your little collection videos, and you would kind of have this box that you slid out from your unit. It'd be full of samples and things. So there's a lot of interaction from you. But it was also clear to me that you were passionate and you were knowledgeable and you enjoyed whiskey for whiskey's sake, and you knew about it as well. And I always looked forward to your videos coming out. I always looked forward to the way that you would take us through a whiskey, because you're quite extreme. You do a lot of budget whiskies, but you do a lot of really special whiskies too. And the way you appraised them was always enjoyable to me. You must have been into whiskey for a wee while.
Yeah, I mean, firstly, thanks very much. That means a lot coming from yourself. I really do appreciate it, mate. Yeah, I mean, I've always been a firm believer that whiskey's there to be shared. That's why I started the Manchester Whiskey Club back in 2012, 2013.
I was going to ask you that.
Yeah, well, So that was something that started.
Is it still going? Is the Manchester Whiskey Club still going?
Yeah. I stepped back from running it because I was doing everything basically at one point. I stepped back from running it over to a committee back in 2015, and have been running it. You know, it's still going strong. More and more members. They seem to be doing really well, so it's fantastic. And that was, you know, one of the things that really drove my love of whiskey in a way. It's that sharing, it's that experience. It's not, you know, there's so many people going to making the stuff, and you then get to enjoy it with other people. And it's not, you know, it's a shared experience, but it's unique to every single person. And just the nuances and the differential between people, it's just mind blowing. It's really, really cool. And you're right. I do have a collection, so to speak. But the ones that are shut at the moment, and I've stressed this in a few reviews, are just shut because I've not got around to them yet. You know, I mean, don't get me wrong. I know some people collect whiskey, you know, maybe open a couple and sell some, and that's their prerogative. But for me, it was made to be enjoyed. It didn't go through that still and, you know, sit in a cask for X amount of years to sit on someone's shelf and get dusty. And it's not going to be sitting on my shelf and getting dusty. It's going to get opened at some point, hopefully. Yeah.
I mean, what you do hope is that the folk that are involved in buying and selling, and that's their thing, and we understand that they want to do that, and it's fine that they want to do that. And I always say we have to thank these people, because if it wasn't for those people 30 years ago, we wouldn't be sitting down and enjoying a nice, I don't know, St. Magdalene or something today, right?
Oh, totally.
It's because there are people that do that. But I think it's always nice they've at least tried whiskey. They've tried to enjoy it, and some of them do actually manage to start enjoying it. I actually know the whiskey friend Alan out there. He's a self-declared collector. He was buying whiskey, he was collecting whiskey, he was polishing it, he was keeping it, but he wasn't really drinking much of it. And then he actually got a taste for it. So you know, they're not mutually exclusive things. So yes, you make a good point. So it's a nice collection you've got over there. You seem to be a Bruichladdich fan, are you?
Yeah, just a bit. Yeah, I do like my laddies, to be fair.
Have you heard of the Artisan restaurant in Wishaw?
I have. Yeah, I've not managed to get up there yet, but I have heard and I have seen some pretty on-point pictures when it comes to Bruichladdich and Port Charlotte.
I don't think Eric Mather, who owns Artisan, he's got a fantastic whiskey collection generally, but I think he has every single piece of the Bruichladdich puzzle, bar none.
Damn.
Yeah, it's quite incredible. That's obsessive.
That's some commitment. Yeah, I mean, I like him. That's kind of stalker level, sort of like laddie love. You know what I mean? That's like
passion. That's what that is. Absolutely.
I'll start using that one next time the police get me. Unbridled passion.
Unbridled passion, officer. Okay, I'm going to ask you about your whiskey highlight of 2019, but I happen to know, without even asking you, that one of them has got to be this.
It is. It really is.
Now, we didn't pre-arrange this at all. This is by pure coincidence. Am I right?
It is completely.
Yeah. Now, I watched your review of this, and I've got this thanks to my friend and fellow bottle chaser, Sevi the Alchemist. He managed to track this down for me, and he brought it round. And I was waiting for the right moment to uncork it, and now seems like as good a time as any, because you seem to really, really enjoy this.
Yeah, I get a bit of a chuffy badge sometimes. So like when something really sort of tickles my fancy in the first 5 minutes, that's it. Then it's one of those things. I think whiskey, you either fall in love with it or you don't. And this is one that I'm firmly, unequivocally falling in love with.
And as an Englishman, you've got to have some passion about some of the things that's happening in England, from the more recent expressions from the Lakes, the Cotswolds, from Bimber. There are some really decent stuff happening now, right?
Yeah, it's just been, I mean, don't get me wrong, the guys in Norfolk at St. George's Distillery have been around for a few years, but then you have, like you say, you've got guys in the Cotswolds Distillery, Bimber, the Lakes. You know, they're all doing really great things. And I mean, I'll be honest, whilst, I'm English, my dad's Scottish, so I've got a big, connection there. When it comes to English whiskey and London in particular, you kind of mentioned before, I'm from Manchester. I am from around that neck of the woods. So it's not the easiest thing for me to say I love something from London. I'll be honest with you. It's one of those things.
Nice of you to admit. It's easier for you to say you love something from north of the border than it is from London.
Exactly. This is it. So, but I can't begrudge him this. It's absolutely phenomenal. It really is. I mean, for such a young whiskey, there's just so much complexity. You can just sort of feel the love that went into it, and don't read too much into that.
I have to say, at first approach now, of course, I've just uncorked this. This is a neck pour. It's very tight. But on the nose, I'm getting the sweet and the butterscotch and things. But for a high ABV whiskey, I think is that cask strength at 51.9?
Yeah, I believe so.
It's quite soft on the nose.
It is. And one of the things that I actually said in my video was you wouldn't actually suspect it was that strong. If somebody gave you this as a blind dram, you might think, high 40s, mid 40s. But it's just, for me, there's so much coffee, so much pineapple, like candied pineapple in there.
Cheers, Andy.
Just spice. Yeah, cheers, mate. Thanks for having me.
Oh, wow.
That's a good one, right?
Do you know why that's good? Is because nothing I've just experienced was expected. That's very different. It's very, very different.
It is.
There's a nice kind of orange liqueur thing going on. There's a bit of almost bordering on like an amaretto thing. The little amaretto almond cookie things.
Totally.
It's nothing. That's not Scotch.
It's not.
It's absolutely different. It's clearly it's whiskey, but that's very pleasant. It's very nice to. I have to say, Andy, I thought you'd over-egged it a bit, but it's really nice.
I probably did, to be fair, but it is still very good. I think you kind of hit the nail on the head, Roy, mate. It's very unique. It's not Scotch, and it's not bourbon. It's not rye. It's carving its own style, its own thing, and that's kind of what I love about it.
The dominant fruit is orange, I would say, to me tonight. I was expecting from the nose, I was expecting lots of toffee and butterscotch. There is some there, but I think on the palate, especially when you said coffee, I mean, obviously the coffee's quite loud. It's alive. That's a good word to actually describe this whiskey. It's vibrant. It's very alive.
It is.
And this is 3 years old, right?
I believe so. And there's only 5,000 bottles of it as well, which is kind of cool.
I don't even think we've shared what we're drinking. I don't think we've talked about it. This is the first mainstream release from Bimba, which is their Richard. They had an inaugural. It's actually up there. You won't see it in the shot just now, but I have it as well. But this is the Richard, and there was 5,000 of these released. Is this still available, or is it gone now?
I think it's still available from a couple of places. I think the Whiskey Exchange still had a few bottles last time I looked. I think it's sold out on like Master of Malt. But if you just stick into Google, a couple of results came up for me last week.
65 quid?
Yeah, it's $64.95, I think, off the top of my head.
Now, I have to say, if depending on how you looked at it, you might consider it expensive, but I don't.
Yeah.
Especially after trying it, I don't consider it expensive. It's very limited release. There's not going to be a lot of it around forever. It's cask strength. There can be no quibbles at its presentation. I
don't disagree.
If
I'm honest with you, it's incredibly Moorish. Whilst you've been sort of talking, I've been sipping it and just sipping it and sipping it like a little baby bird. I did have it in my basket for about 15 minutes before I finally bit the bullet and sort of clicked buy, because to me, 65 quid for a 3-year-old is a little bit much. But I thought, do you know what? It's something new. It seems to have the right presentation. It's still a small operation. The initial release to, was it Founders members, I think, got really good things said and some really good feedback saying they were doing the right thing. So I thought, give it a punt. I'm really glad I did. It's, for me,
I'm excited
really,
about
really good
too. I've got the inaugural up there. It's not opened, but I was kindly sent a couple of samples of the inaugural, so I get to try it before I decide whether to open it or not. Right. And I've also managed to secure myself. I'm a member of the London Whisky Club, so their recent bottling as well. I managed to get a hold of one of those from Bimba.
Lovely.
So I'm excited that, and there's that on the palate now. It's still sitting there. It's gone a little bit bitter, but there's a kind of nice effervescent finish to it as well. That's just sat there. It's like I said earlier. It's Moorish. It's making me want to go back, which is always a very good sign.
Exactly.
I have to say,
it's a very multi-dimensional drama, I think, for me.
I'm very glad that I opened it with you as well, Andy. Tell us, what's your 2019 been for you for whiskey? Do you have any highlights to share with us?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, the overarching one is coming back into the whiskey community, to be fair, and reconnecting with people such as yourself. I mean, we were only saying before, this is the first time we've actually interacted directly, which, outside of the comment space, I suppose you could call it. And I find that the whiskey community is probably one of the most accepting group of people that you will ever come across.
Yeah.
It's not tribal. It's nobody's got any agenda. It's just there's opinions, but they're all very, very well sort of meant, and people like to sort of like get a bit of knowledge behind them and know what they're drinking. And I think it's the kind of shared love of the actual, core enterprise of whiskey that is just sort of like unanimous. I mean, it spans several countries. Japan make whiskey, South Africa. It doesn't matter where in the world you are.
The entire world has worked out also that it's made better by enjoying it in company with other people, sharing it. And I think that
Definitely.
that's when you said it's really not tribal, and it's really, you would think that all of these YouTube channels and creators, we would all be fighting for the airspace. We would be fighting for subs, for subscribers, or for whatever, but we're not. We're super collaborative because, you know, we've all been bitten by the same very infectious bug.
Definitely. Couldn't agree more.
Yeah. And I think it's kind of, as I said at the outset of the stream, I would do everything I possibly could to protect that community as long as I could, to keep it inclusive, to keep it very, you know, mutually supportive and things like that, focusing on the things that unite rather than divide, of course. So that's interesting. Your highlight is coming back into the active whiskey community, because I imagine you never actually fully left it, but as a creator, you took a break, right? That's
exactly it. I was always there in the background and kept.
Are you still active with the Manchester Whiskey Club, or did that have to?
I've not been since I handed it over, to be honest, which is kind of bad of me, because I met some really great people, and as part of it and setting it up, they also met each other, and it's been really nice for me to actually see those friendships grow as well, like some sort of creepy stalker in a bush, just watching people get close. But they're like, you know, like I said, they're still going really strong. And you know, it was the first meeting that we did. I was really nervous, because realistically, I don't know what I'm talking about now, let alone in 2013. And you know, everybody's.
Well, I think you're probably aware that it doesn't matter how much you know. Everybody you meet is going to know stuff that you don't. And I think that's what makes you nervous, right? It makes you doubt yourself sometimes. Sorry to interrupt, Andy. Sorry, continue.
No, it's all right, mate. You're exactly right. I mean, there's a phrase that I like that's that I use sometimes in work. You go from being consciously incompetent to unconsciously competent. You know what I mean? You know, I think it's just one of those. It's a continuous journey, and you don't realise that you start picking things up until you suddenly open your mouth and say them. You're just like, oh right, okay, yeah, that just happened. Actually, you know, I know what low wines are. Fantastic. So not that's really ever going to help me in my day-to-day job, but you never know. It's just been such a great year in terms of coming back, re-interacting with people that I hadn't spoken to for quite a while. I've been constantly adding to the collection in the background. My whiskey base has been like a game of battleships, just things disappearing and getting re-added here and there. It's just been
bottle chasing.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Well, it sounds like you were just about to make a New Year resolution that maybe you'll connect with the Manchester Whiskey Club again in 2020.
Yeah.
But, I mean, if there's, do you ever get up to Scotland?
Yeah. Actually, I go up there quite a lot with work, and like I mentioned before, my dad's Scottish, so
yes.
I actually go up there. We've got quite a bit of family up near Glasgow, around that way. So yeah, I know
we might have an excuse to bump into each other in the pot still one night.
I have no problem with that, mate. I'll be there. I'll be there with bells on.
I tell you what I'm going to do, Andy. While you were chatting, I went and grabbed your link. I'm going to drop your channel link into the chat just now. So if anybody wants to open another wee tab, anybody that doesn't know Andy, go and give him a wee subscribe. Go and give him a subscribe, and go and I would encourage you to watch his recent Bimber Recharge review and watch just how much it lights him up. He's very, very happy, enjoying it. And now that I sip this with him, I can see why. Andy, I'd like to say thank you so much for dropping in and joining us here. I hope it's not going to be the last time you join us on a vPub. We can see you more in the future. You're very welcome to hang about as long as you possibly can in the chat, and maybe even stay. Since you know what low wines are, you could perhaps stay for the end. Yes, and I would like to say thanks so much for coming and joining us this evening.
It's been a pleasure, mate. Thank you very much for having me. Thanks to all the barflies. Really appreciate it. It's good to speak to you, and I'll be in the background. Thanks very much.
I, for one, look forward to seeing more Maltbox content in 2020. Sláinte, my friend. Cheers, thank you.
Cheers, you too.
Superb. So there we have it. I dropped his link in the stream. If you're interested in giving Andy a wee subscription, please go ahead and do that. I'm very, very confident you won't regret it. Nice guy. Richard Lax, I'm sorry, I know I'm making an absolute mess of your name. My friend, he's bought me a virtual dram, and he said, thanks for introducing me to Eric Waite's channel in 2019. You're very welcome. Took me some time to remember. I saw him before tasting a wine from the place where I live. That is too funny. Fantastic. That's great that you've managed to find Eric as well. Eric's putting out a lot of educational content, and I hope that his new circumstances, his new job, his new place of residence, it doesn't prevent him from doing that. Eric is in here tonight, so hopefully he's still here, and you can say thanks directly to him as well. But thank you for your virtual drama, friend. Slanchava to you. Malcolm Douglas is in, and he's saying, what a nice lad. I hope you're talking about Andy, because he strikes me as a nice lad too. Don Pass Whiskey is in. Good to see Tim, saying, thanks for the link. Subscribed. Fantastic. James Hope is here. James, wonderful to see you, my friend. Wonderful to see that wee Instagram post. I loved it where you had the whiskies of yesteryear sample set I sent to you lined up in a fantastic little reflective image, and for the London Whisky Club. I think it was you that posted that. I assumed that it was you that posted it. Nice to welcome you in here, James, my friend. And I noticed a comment a wee while ago from your fellow London Whisky Club member, Jez Batty, saying that my London Whisky Club member release was coming to me in January. So I'm really excited for that. Can I just put a shout out again to the London Whisky Club? It's a fantastic whisky club. Love their attitude, love the events that they're putting together, love the community that they're building. The members of that club don't talk about it being a club with members. They talk about it being a whisky family, which tells chapters, as far as I'm concerned, about what that club is managing to achieve in a very short space of time. I'm a proud member of the London Whisky Club myself, despite living far away from it. Anybody can join the London Whisky Club, and as you fly or drive or however it is you get through or to London, you can shout out to fellow Barflies and fellow club members down there, and hopefully get somebody to hook up with when you're in the big city down south. There's a few members in here tonight. If you're interested in the London Whisky Club, it's whiskyclub.london is the web address. But Jez Batty, James Hope, and a few other, no doubt, of the founding members will be in here tonight. Fantastic things they're doing down there. The Alchemist Sevi saying, Aquavite, hoy pal. Let me get a second bottle of Bimber Recharge before you big it up. It'll be gone in a flash, as long as it ends up in the hands of barflies. Right, Sevi? Kilco O'Brien is in. Good to have you, Brian. He's saying, Aquavide, I had to pour my first drink this evening. It was a Scotch, of course. Good for you, my friend. Tell us what you poured. Eric is saying, my new home is huge. I can host 20 or so people. So I hope to be able to invite whiskey people over and share my treasures from my travels. That sounds like a great excuse to end up one day in Sacramento, Eric. I'm going to remember that invite. Okay, let's jump into my next guest, who I'm really excited to have on. He's been on the show before. I love this guy. I love watching this guy. I love the way he talks about whiskey. I love watching his journey. I love hearing the way he expresses about whiskey. He's just on himself tonight. He's usually reviewing alongside his sidekick, Dave, but it's just the man himself that I have on Malted Man Cave. Keith, how are you, my friend? Fantastic to see you.
Fantastic to see you, buddy. Thanks for having me on. Happy holidays.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. I wanted to make a conscious effort to have you on here tonight, and I'll tell you why. Can I tell you why?
Absolutely.
One of my highlights of 2019 was looking forward to going over to Texas again. Now, I got to go to Texas last year. It was fantastic, but It's Bourbon Night was there. Obviously, the guys, the hosts themselves, the Whiskey Vault was there. Bill from the Whiskey Dictionary was there, Scotch Test Dummies, and me. This year, the guys blew the doors off, and they invited tons of YouTube creators to come along and hang out in a court that was set up for just the YouTube channels. It was a wonderful event. And I know that it clashed with a lot of people that got invites. So a lot of the guys that we've been working together and collaborating with over the years, Whiskey in the Six Rob, you guys, Scotch for Dummies, so many more, weren't able to go along this year. But for a while, there was a chance you were going to be able to make it. And I got excited because I was going to be able to hang out and share a dram with Keith, but it wasn't to happen.
I know, man. I feel so bad because I think you kind of vouched for me and got me an invite, and then I had to cancel. So my wife, something came up with the family, and she's like, no, you're not going. She gave me the go ahead first, and then something came up that I couldn't go. I know.
Family comes first.
Yeah, I know. And that's my whiskey moment we'll talk about later. Kind of has to do with family.
Well, I have to say that I didn't mean to make you feel bad. I knew that it might make you feel bad a little bit, but my intention was to obviously get across to you that you were one of the guys I was looking forward to. Because my whiskey moment of the year, I don't mind just sharing it and cracking it out right now, was I had met Scott and Bart a couple of times. I'd been in their company before, but I was able to welcome them in my hometown this year. I was able to bring them to here, to my home. There's nothing more surreal than seeing Bart walking around my streets in Glasgow here, 6'6" tall, with this bright red jacket on, his cowboy hat, and just kind of cruising around, just kind of gliding around the streets. It was
really days, baby. Long
right
days.
Lex, as Danny would say. But he was just, it was bizarre to me, because we've got to remember, a bit like when I was watching Andy from Maltbox, before I was actually creating on YouTube, I was watching these guys, and then to welcome them into my city. And my highlight of 2019 was that day, this Saturday, that we held an Epiphany tasting in a Good Spirits Company in Glasgow. And then in the evening, we went to the Bon Accord, and the Bon Accord let us have an open bottle pour. We just filled the place up, and we had just such a fantastic time hanging out together. That summed up 2019 for me. I didn't know that it was going to continue. There was going to be more of that happening. But that was what I just loved it. I just couldn't believe that was happening, that it was real, that it was working. There were no idiots. Everybody was wonderful. And I had this idea that we'd be able to hang out in much the same spirit in Texas.
Yeah. Feeling is mutual, man. You have no idea how bad I wanted to go. I will be honest, there was a few arguments in the Clark household, but
honestly, it was very
happy wife, happy life.
Exactly, and it was very close for us as well, because this year it came very close to the school holidays, and it was touch and go for us. But my wife she's been super supportive. You know, sometimes I do ask for a little bit too much. But we managed to make it happen. And I was really sick before I went to Texas. The night before I went, I almost never flew, but I made it, and I'm very glad I did, because I recovered. And I was sitting next to Vin on the flight over, and Vin's kind of looking at me out the corner of his eyes thinking, you ain't going to make it. But I rallied and managed to get it. Listen, things happen for a reason, Keith. And you and I are going to get a chance. Maybe 2020, maybe 2021. Maybe it's going to be Scotland. Maybe it's going to be Ohio. Maybe it'll Texas or somewhere else. But it will happen, right?
So I got the brownie points now. Now I can hold this over to her. Now I can get a hall pass to come to Scotland. Or we got a pretty big house, buddy. We got a guest from you can come do the Bourbon Trail, as I'm only about an hour away from Kentucky.
2 invites in one night. Both different sides of the states. I can use you as a stopover to go over to Sacramento and hang out with Eric.
Absolutely.
Sounds fantastic. Are you still enjoying the channel, big guy?
I love it.
And it's the community. It's the community, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, the whiskey community, and I've said this before, so I don't want to sound like I'm beating a dead horse, but you guys, Scotch Test Dummies especially, I don't know what you guys did, but somehow you created an unselfish community that welcomes everybody. And I don't think it was always like that. I think there was a little bit of competition at first, but I think Scott really at first, and then you kind of came in and put your mark on it. It's amazing. Now, there might be a few characters here and there that kind of just care about themselves, but as a whole, I would say 90% of the whiskey community want other channels to do well. We just have a passion for whiskey, and that's why I keep doing it. Even when I'm tired and we're doing a review at 10:30 at night, it's just amazing. So thank you, and thanks Scott and Scotch Test Dummies.
Absolutely. I'll never forget a conversation, and I'll never forget the words from, I remember how outwardly reaching Scott was. I remember how cool he was. I remember how cool both of those guys were. And when I saw them reaching out, and not only reaching out for guests from the industry to come on the channel and things, but they were reaching out to co-creators in a collaborative way. But they were doing it originally to because they believed in the content they were putting out, and they wanted to give them a little lift.
Yep.
They never realized that they were going to make this kind of help connect up all these kind of disparate channels. They never saw that big picture. But I remember the first time I saw it, and it just blew my mind. And I've spoken about it since. That's what made me realize that these guys were doing it right, that they understood. They weren't afraid of competition. And Bart's quote that I'm going to mention now, he says, a rising tide raises all boats, was the words he used. And that's I'm a marketer. We know about these concepts. We know about these things. And the niche that whiskey community is, it's very niche on YouTube. It's very, even the biggest channels are only kind of 100,000 or 200,000 subs, like the Whiskey Vault or whatever. So it's very small in the big scheme of things. But as we come together, we bring more value to the community. And I'm very excited that the Scotch Test Dummies are starting up their live streams again, because I think that was a huge part of it. I think we've all been missing it a wee bit. But like we've talked about already, the theme has been family first, work second, whiskey has to. Hopefully it does wrap around our lives. Sorry to monologue. You got me excited. Tell us, do you have a whiskey highlight then?
So my kind of whiskey moment or whiskey highlight is kind of two-pronged. So I do have a whiskey of the year that, if it's okay with you, I'll share at the end. But like I said,
I'm going to need to get a clean glass, right?
Yeah. We got one to share. So it's kind of two-pronged. So like I said before, just kind of the last year or so, just families first. Whiskey is my passion. It's my hobby, but family is always going to come first. And I think that just need to spend a little bit more time with my young kids. So we still do one review a week, but I can't do as many live streams. I haven't been able to watch other people's content as much as I like. And don't get me wrong, I love it. Like, I'm obsessed with it. Like, but I've been trying to drink a little less to make, lose a little weight, which I had lost 15 pounds and I pretty much gained it all back during Thanksgiving and Christmas, unfortunately. So I got to get back on the saddle. But anyways, so
you're looking good to me. You're looking fantastic tonight.
I still got about 20, 25 pounds to go, but thank you. I'll take it. So
your webcam flatters you.
But because I took a little bit of step back, I had a little bit more time, obviously, with my family, but then a little bit more time, obviously, to connect with just some other people in the whiskey community. So, like, specifically, I was able to take a trip to Indianapolis, for a Vine and Table event where the Scotch for Dummies were there. Dwayne Large, Michael and Brianne Porter from Sunday Evening Scotch. Obviously, George and Amy Kaplan, who I have a really good relationship, and I get to see him quite often. Actually, we meet up. And then the last thing, DH So, I don't know if you've seen him. I think he's commenting and he watches your stuff.
Yes, absolutely, yes.
He's in Kentucky, and me and Mike from Mike's Whiskey Review. Sorry, he changed his channel name. He used to have Billy, and he's no longer on the channel anymore. But we get together probably about once a month, and it's not really a whiskey club, but really it's a whiskey club. We share whiskeys, we pop them, we share them. I get to benefit because they're both single, and they can get like Talisker 40. Like I show up with like E.H. Taylor single barrel, and they're like, oh, that's nothing. I'm like, this is like $180, and you can't find this anywhere. Or I'll come in with like Long Row 14 share, and like, oh, it's not 30 years old. I don't know if we could do this. But it's awesome.
You're keeping them grounded, Keith. You're keeping them grounded.
Bunch of whiskey snobs. No, I'm just kidding. They're amazing guys. So just really got to, with the extra time, drink a little less for my weight and my liver, and get to spend some time with whiskey folk. Also, last shout out, Art Baggy. Me and him have kind of Skyped a few times, over talking whiskey and politics, and it's just kind of been an awesome thing to connect with someone, halfway across the world,
Art Baggy is different class. He's playing a different game of gentleman, right?
Oh, yeah. He's a good dude.
He turned up to the event that I called as my whiskey moment of the year at Bon Accord with Scotch Test Dummies and things and all the community that evening. He turned up there to participate, and he ended up being a barman and pouring for everyone.
That's awesome.
He is just awesome. And his buddy, Jason Julia, Whiskey Rover, he turned up to that event doing the same thing. He was driving because his wife was just about to have a baby. So he turned up as a barman, and he did the exact same thing at the blind tasting in Glasgow a couple of weeks ago. This is the editor of Malt Review hanging out with us and pouring whiskey for us.
And those guys are great too. I love Malt. That's such a website.
We need that voice out there, buddy. We really need it out there. So before we finish up, let's pour this together. Have you announced your whiskey of the year? Should we keep it under wraps?
No, let's go ahead and do it. I'm okay with it. I'll come out with a video or whatever. But
I've got it here. It was nearly mine. It was
a toss-up between Tamdu 15 and Hazelburn 14 Oloroso, which I just finished off last night. We did a review of it. So because I'm such a Springbank fanboy, I decided, Keith, you got to do something else other than Springbank some of the time. So I had seen this at my local liquor store, which in Ohio, I get about Glenmorangie 10, Macallan 12, just basic stuff. And I found this, and I was like, I listened to a Ralphie review, and he gave it a 90 out of 100. Talked about it being like old school sherry and just really, really good. And then I emailed or group text chat and Twitter or whatever it was, you guys, and you very quickly said yes, buy it now, run to the store. And I'm gonna have to say, like, this right here, man, shocked me. For only $100, which is still pretty expensive, but it's 46% ABV. It's non-chill filtered, no color added. And from what I read kind of online, and I know this isn't always as common, like their sherry cask that they use, they actually season it for 2 years, which is not, I don't think, common practice. I think normally when they season sherry cask, it's a lot less than that. So they've European oak and American oak, so it kind of, I don't want to ruin it. Let's get into it. I'm gonna shut up.
No, honestly, you're right. But I have to say as well that all of those things you're spot on about, but it's just words at the end of the day and things on a label. It's the liquid that does the talking. And I got two generous sample bottles of this, very generous sample bottles of it. And I shared one with some Italian friends that came over, and the other one I drank far too fast by myself. And I knew I just had to go out. Yeah, I got to try it at a couple of festivals as well. It struck me each time. And then, when things are calling you like that, you just need to put your money where your mouth is, or where your taste buds are, I guess. And it was a wee bit pricey. I mean, this is 70 something pounds. Graham Young has just bought me a virtual dram as well, and he's saying, to a prosperous 2020. I can raise a glass to that, Graham. And he's saying, thanks for what you do, Roy. Thank you to you as well, Graham. And I got to hang out with Graham and his family for a curry earlier this year. Wonderful it was too. Graham Slancheva, thank you for your dram.
Cheers, Graham. He's a great guy.
Oh wow, it's just obviously there's too much. The sherry thing's there, but it's really soft. It's almost voluptuous. There's this unctuous arrival. It's like it's almost, this is a horrible word, but globular. I don't know. It just is it.
When I first poured my first dram, I smelled it and it was kind of subtle at first, but then all of a sudden it just like oozed in with this just amazing complex flavor just from all. And it's, for me, I get like chocolate covered watermelons. Do you guys have fruit cocktail? Like this comes in like the plastic and you rip off the plastic top.
Absolutely, yeah.
Fruit cocktail syrup, just syrupy fruit cocktail syrup with all the different types of sweet kind of candied fruit.
Absolutely.
But then, and I think they use European oak sherry cask and American oak sherry cask. You kind of get like the vanilla, pineapple, bourbon cask notes, but then you kind of get the raisin and the bitter oak and the chocolate from the European oak sherry cask. It's just a beautiful kind of synergy going on. It's pretty freaking amazing.
I have to say, this was beaten out. And I'm hoping to find a pocket of time to have my mini rant about this. It was beaten out for one thing only, just one thing only. Because at the end of the day, if you're going to have a whiskey of the year, you can't have 3 whiskies of the year, right? You have to pick one and say, this is it for this year. And people are asking you for it. The Jason as well, another guy I got to meet and hang out with, fantastic guy, Mash and Drum Jason, said, cheers to you, Roy. Meeting you was one of my highlights. Also, cheers to Keith, my fellow whiskey friend from Ohio. You guys are in the same state. Jason, it was an absolute pleasure to hang out with you, and I hope it's not our last time. Slancheva, Jason.
Cheers, Jason. Those Buckeyes got hosed, man. All right, I'm done. I know most people on the chat probably aren't college football fans.
Great guy. He does bourbon. He does all whiskies. He does Canadian. He does world whiskies. There's a lot of Scotch as well. Really good presentation. Really enjoying the content that he's putting out. I'm sure everybody knows the Mash and Drum, but if you don't, give the guy some of your time. I'm sure it'll be worthwhile for you. I think that this is a cracking whiskey, Keith. I think it's a good choice for your whiskey of the year. It was in the running for me as well. It almost made it. It was joint second, and I'll announce to everybody what my favourite whiskey is in just a moment for 2019. But this is a whiskey from 2019, incidentally, as well. It's interesting that it's come out this year. And you're absolutely right about the European and American oak sherry cask. In fact, maybe some of that syrupy, that fruit syrup you're talking about is maybe from the American oak side. There is a nice spice there. Yep. There's a kind of leather thing going on as well. I don't know if it sits for a while. It's like a...
But it's a pleasant, because sometimes the leather notes for me can sometimes be a little too much, but it's just right. Just enough.
Yeah. The leather's there to tell you that there's maturity in the whiskey, I think. Yep. That there's a nice age to it. But it's, even although the arrival was soft and that kind of unctuous arrival there, I don't want to suggest that it's soft, because there's enough spice and complexity to keep you engaged. It's not a super soft whiskey. Sometimes I think actually Allardyce is a little bit extreme, and you have to be in the mood for that. It's a kind of 1 dram whiskey, the Glendronach 18 Allardyce, because it's very extreme example of its style. Whereas this has got a bit more fruit and confectionery and vibrance about it.
I think
Cheers.
newbies would probably appreciate this more. I mean, I love Glendronach Allardyce, the 18, but I feel like this would even be, you know.
I'm fairly confident my wife would happily enjoy a dram of this, honestly. Yep. Fantastic. Keith, we have made somewhat of an agreement that we'll try our very, very damnedest to get together next year. In the meantime, keep bringing that passion, big guy. I love when you get excited about something. I love when you lose your stuff. I love when you pull those faces and you're clearly loving the whiskey. And I'll tell you something else that you do that's very, very good as well. Virtually everything that you review has been very much enjoyed before it makes a video. So very much in the same vein as the recycled reviews, you know, you have to know how the whiskey has changed for you over time, right? And I think it plays into the dynamic of it when you appraise that whiskey. And it's clear to me that you've enjoyed the hell out of your whiskies before you review them. I can also say I'm really sorry not to have seen.
Some of it's planned to get to know the whiskey. Some of it's, oh crap, I drank too much, but I got to review this.
Can also say it's a bit of a shame not to see your sidekick Dave. But I guess if I have the chance to see you in the flesh, perhaps Dave can look after you. Maybe he can bring you along. Maybe it's Dave I need to speak to in order to hook up.
Probably.
Big guy, thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me on, man.
Let's raise a glass and say, here's to 2020, my friend. All the very best.
Cheers.
What I'm going to do now is very, very quickly, if I can, head over and grab a link for Keith at Malted Man Cave. I would love you to see some of the passionate reviews that guy puts out. He's a self-proclaimed Springbank lover now. He's struggling to get out of the Springbank cul-de-sac, as I like to call it, as so many of us do. But actually, he's very grounded, and he is very open to sharing all whiskies. And he can be forgiven for loving Campbelltown, right? Of course. I've just dropped a wee link in for Keith at Malted Man Cave. Now, I set a challenge to somebody at the start of this evening. And I said, next time I see you, I would love for you to hook up and get together with a fellow barfly. And I wanted that to be a thing because I wanted to kind of get it home to people about how whiskey connects you. It gets you together with people. It maybe forces you a wee bit outside of your comfort zone, like Andy talked about when he was talking about starting up the Manchester Whisky Club and things, doing things like starting a YouTube channel, for crying out loud. Whiskey did that, and we've got to be very, very thankful for it. Ebhead Rolf was saying 2019 amazing social gatherings with super friendly barflies. Beat all the great whiskey tasted in 2019. I have to agree, Rolf. 2 times Glasgow, 2 times London and Frankfurt in no particular order to 2020 in the same spirit. Let's raise a glass to Ebhead Rolf. Rolf, you're always a pleasure to hang out with, and I hope we get more of the same in 2020. I love your spirit and your sentiment. And the whiskies were pretty damn impressive too. Sláinte, my friend, and thank you for your dram. Whiskey forces us together, and I'm going to join my friend Scott Monroe, Kilted Moose, fellow Glaswegian, somebody that I knew only through social media channels until I started this thing on YouTube. And now we're friends. He lives just across the city, and we're equally responsible for encouraging each other to chase each other's bottles, let's say. Let's see if I can get Scott in. Scotty, how successful were you? Hello. Oh, I noticed something different about your attire.
Well, it was a challenge, Roy. But phone call, the magic of Uber. I managed to find somebody, and people who attended the Glasgow Whisky Show Festival, Scott and Bart's me up in Glasgow, might recognise this rather fantastic shirt. Some of
It's
you might not.
become an iconic shirt. There's no doubt about it. I recognise that shirt.
So the person that I managed to find is Mr. the Whiskey Alchemist himself. Sevi is in the house.
Hey!
The whole butterfly. How are you doing?
Fantastic, boys. Fantastic. So there's the two of you sitting on the same sofa together. Only, what was that? Oh my goodness, it's been a wee while. That was almost an hour ago now. My goodness.
I'm going to have Sevi's shirt back.
Yeah, Scott's been wearing that for the last 10 minutes since I got here, and he's sweltered, shall we say.
Starting to feel the heat a little bit. Fantastic to see you, Sevi. So on the left, we have Scott Monroe, Kilted Moose, and on the right, we have Sevi the Alchemist. Of course, you would have seen both these guys, fellow Glaswegians for me. The three of us, I refer to us as the bottle chasers, and I don't think it offends either of them. They took part in the blind challenge at the last vPub, and I'm very grateful to know them and to be able to call them friends. And I have to say, boys, whiskey did that.
It did, yeah. It certainly did.
Absolutely.
Fantastic to see the two of you hanging out as well. You're going to tell us what you're drinking there?
Well, yes. Well, since I felt that I was playing a wee bit of...
Speak up just a wee bit, just for my deafness.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, no problem. So, Kilted Moose had already poured an 18-year-old Loch Lomond for my arrival, which is fantastic. A dirty whiskey. I've never
dirty
had.
Whiskey. Yes.
Yeah, it's a dirty whiskey. But again, it's got that wonderful kind of, it's almost like kind of marmalade on burnt toast kind of flavour to it as well.
Have you got it in front of you now?
Sorry?
Have a wee sip
yes.
and tell me, I know that it's dirty, but have a wee sip and tell me if you get cola cubes.
It's right there. It's right there.
There is, yeah.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Cola cubes.
Absolutely, cola cubes. I hope, I was going to say, is that something that's not, was out with the way?
Yeah, I don't know if it's international. It's a cubed candy. It's got a very specific flavour. It's kind of fruit, but it's a generic fruit. There's no, you can't tell what kind of fruit it is, but it's there.
And it's right there.
Yeah. So I've brought along something. So this is going to be the next one. We've got a local barley, Springbank local barley, 9-year-old, not this year's, but the 9-year-old. So we're just about to kind of.
How much of that is left?
Not much.
Okay, you've got enough. You've got enough to keep you going.
Got enough, yeah.
Enough for a couple of drams.
Enough for a couple of drams, certainly.
Would you boys mind if I checked in on you now and again just to see how you're getting on?
Absolutely. Yeah. Don't be too long though. We might going to say this stuff's pretty strong. So, but that's fine.
Yeah.
Fantastic to see you both as well.
Thank
Fantastic to see you both in the same shot sitting together. That's awesome.
I was very surprised for the call, shall we say. I was lucky. I was in my dressing gown, as I say, that Rob always knows, and then just the shirt cracked the glass in case of a whiskey emergency, and off I went.
The alchemist, the Hugh Hefner of the whiskey world.
Wow.
Okay,
sorry,
boys,
Hugh.
enjoy yourselves. Enjoy your dram. I'll check in with you very shortly.
Cheers,
See you, Roy. Bye.
Let's jump into the lounge to say hello to the barflies who I'm feeling like I've neglected a wee bit here. Let's see what I'm up to next. Yeah, I'm running up on my time. I knew it was going to be crowded. I want to have a wee rant with you. I want to share a couple of guests. And I want to, of course, tell you what I've decided justifies just pipping Tamdhu 15. And the other one that was joint second place for my whiskey of the year was Aaron 18. Now, I think it's through next door. I don't think I have it here. No, I do. I do have it here. I put this in the blind challenge, and I did that on purpose. I wanted to see how it would stack up. This is a very orangey whiskey. There's lots of kind of very sweet orangey syrup going on in the palate, which is a surprise. You don't think you're going to get that with an 18-year-old sherry cask matured product. That amount of orange, but Aaron is kind of an orangey malt for me anyway, but it's very orangey, this 18, but damn, it's good. It's very, very good. I've tried it a few times this year, and I keep showing people just how quickly I've got through so much of this Aaron 18. So Aaron 18, Tamdhu 15 was up against the one that eventually pipped these two at the post for my whiskey of the year, and I'll get to that in just a second. Sorry to be such a tease. I'm just trying to spread things out over the course of the stream. I want to just jump into the lounge quickly, catch a few of you guys before I get my next visitor in. Kilco O'Brien is saying, feel free to send me whiskey any day, Roy. Mooch life. Hang around long enough, Brian, and it's inevitable, let me tell you. Eric Evanson is in. Fantastic. Got a fantastic 20-year-old Kirkland from Eric when I was in the States. Got to hang out with Eric for a while at the hotel and at the Bastard Ball. Excuse me. And it was a pleasure to meet another one of the community as well. He's saying Acuvate. Have you ever heard of a distillery called Drumgush? I think it's, I picked up a single malt from them, $19 for a NAS. I don't think it's a distillery, Eric. I think it's a brand, but don't quote me on that. In fact, I'm certain it's a brand. But $19 for a malt whiskey sounds fantastic. He said, I picked up a single malt from them. I hope you're enjoying it, buddy, and it was nice to meet you. And I've drained your Kirkland since, and I found it very enjoyable. One of these Speyside 20-year-olds from Costco is the Kirkland whiskey, undisclosed distillery, kind of a bastard malt if you like, but delicious. Don't discount them just because you don't know where it's from. On the Nose 88 is saying, you all seem tipsy tonight. I'm always seem a wee bit tipsy. Anytime I watch myself back on these when I'm checking in for comments and things, I always think, you look a wee bit tipsy, Roy. I always look pink and flushed on live streams. Jimmy Legg is saying, still don't know what a cola cube is. Maybe, Jimmy, I need to send you some cola cubes. Era McFault is in as well. My friend Era, the birthday boy, is saying great guests. Era, of course, is a mutual friend of The Alchemist and Kilted Moose as well. Fantastic. And Daniel Vermaas is saying the Glasgow twins. Daniel came over from Hungary to hang out with us in May as well. It was amazing. Just so many of you that have been able to. It's difficult to realise. It's difficult to keep count of just how many of the community has been able to get together this year. It's been fantastic. Pete Head is saying Acuvite. Thank you for the links. Pete Head, if you've gone off and subscribed to both those channels, I'll say thank you so much for your subscriptions. I hope it's worth your while. Do you see this wee wooden malt glass here, this Glencairn glass? That was sent to me from Pete Head. It's difficult to do that when you're looking in a kind of mirror image of yourself. Okay, let's jump into my next guest. You've seen this guy twice on my streams already. I like him. I like watching him. I like him. I got to meet him in May this year. It was a pleasure for me to hang out with him and discuss the addition of E150A and a previous vPub, the colouring of whiskey. We had a few experiments. We had a bit of fun with it and things like that. It was a good stream. I enjoyed it. And I got him back again to participate in the blind challenge last week. But I've asked Ben to come in, drop in for 5 minutes and share what his whiskey moment of 2019 was. Ben, my friend, good to see you. How are you?
Good to see you too, Roy, and hi to all fellow barflies. Merry Christmas and happy holidays.
Welcome.
Thank you very much. You also treated me to the Old Bottle Effect vPub that you did, so I got to taste those 4 fancy old whiskies as well.
Ah, okay. See, you're becoming a bit of a regular, Ben.
I am, and I'm enjoying it. It's treating me to all kinds of wonders.
Well, honestly, what I'm enjoying about you is I've talked about it a lot. If anybody doesn't know Ben, his channel on YouTube is Whiskey Geek. I will try and grab your channel link as well and drop it in. But I've talked about his canny approach, his thoughtfulness, the maturity of how he appraises whiskey belies his years. Because are you 30 yet? Are you 30, Ben?
I just broke 30 this month, yeah. I'm feeling old now.
In that case, many happy returns.
Thank you.
So you're exactly 10 years behind the Alchemist Sevi, who just broke 40 this month. We celebrated his birthday very recently, and I managed to put a nice bottle in his hands that I'm secretly hoping that he shares right back. So yes, you don't appraise whiskey like a 30-year-old. I feel. But you've admitted that you're actually fairly new into whiskey. It's not been a long time for you, right?
Yeah, it's kind of this obsessive approach has maybe been 2 years, 2-3 years. Before then, it was kind of an evolution from university drinking, if you like. And my dad would periodically siphon off unwanted gifts, and I'd take them up. But when my great uncle passed away, I inherited a selection of weird selection of whiskies from his traveling friends. And I just sat there. I was stood in our cold garage on a winter's night, sipping, because I was trying to put a flight together for a group of friends, stood there sampling. I'm like, hang on a second, there's something to this. There's so much difference between these different bottles. Unknowingly, I opened a very expensive bottle that night, just casually, oh, this is good, this one. But that's what triggered it all. And it's maybe two years since then. And doing this channel and creating the content and trying to be this thoughtful about whiskey has really kind of helped to push that along at a much more rapid pace as well.
Fantastic. Little did you know, DH Silva's commented, hell of a whiskey collection back there for 30. I agree, my friend, that you're absolutely right. It's a hell of a collection for a 30-year-old. But not only did you open an expensive bottle that night, but you opened a huge and potentially expensive rabbit hole, right?
Exactly, yes. And it spiraled from there for certain.
But you are enjoying it. You're clearly enjoying it.
100%. And the catalyst that it evokes all of these moments, all of these social situations that are just as special as the whiskey to me, kind of connecting with people, trying to drag my family, my brother, my dad into my obsession, but other people that I know as well, and trying to get them caught is just so much fun to me.
Well, you managed with your wife, Jo, right?
Oh, yes.
Yes. So you're doing better evangelism than I am, because I haven't got my wife there yet. Although she did get a taste over Christmas for a very nice 70-year-old Spanish brandy.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I don't think in terms of how Spanish put the age statements on things, I don't think it's genuinely 70, but there perhaps something in there that is 70 years old, let's say. But yes, there's hope yet. We never know where it's going to turn out. Buddy, thanks so much for jumping in and joining us. But I know that I'm going to put you in the spot and ask you to nominate what your whiskey moment, event, or indeed whiskey. I don't know, are you going to put out a whiskey of the year video? Are you going to do that? Or are you going to?
I've kind of struggled, because the whiskies that have engaged with me a little, the most, have been the weird, the wonderful, the stuff that I would struggle to find again. But after you asked me that question on the back of the blind tasting, I have been having a little think, and the closest one, and I've got to be careful because I've been sat here thoroughly enjoying myself and sipping far too much of this. This is the closest thing that I can get to for my whiskey of the year, the Port Charlotte 10-year-old. And there's a few reasons for this. My, let's say, whiskey moment of the year involved this quite heavily, and really clicking and appreciating with Isla Whiskies, but also Bruichladdich as a distillery, as a producer. It's good presentation, it's quite easy to get hold of, and it's a reasonably sensible price. This one I thoroughly enjoy. And my uncle over Christmas, he summarized it perfectly, and he was a generation that kind of sat there and went, this is very medicinal, I don't think I can drink this. And then after 2 sips, he was like, this really grows on you. And he wanted another dram. So it's good stuff, even if at first you're kind of like, I'm not sure about this.
What was your uncle's name?
Paul.
Welcome to Isla, Uncle Paul. It does grow on you. It does. That's fantastic. And I have to say, I've seen some of the kind of weird and wonderful things that you've had the privilege to enjoy. I'm grateful that you did share something that people can go out and get a hold of, because there's almost a kind of hollowness in saying this is the best whiskey I've tasted this year, but sorry, nobody can buy it, you know. It's nice if you can nominate a whiskey that folk can actually get their hands on. And if it's affordable, now I appreciate that a couple of years ago I suggested Lagavulin 12 was up to, at that time it was less than £100, now it's more than 100. However, something that people can get their hands on.
Yeah, you know, there's so many that stick out, like all of the whiskies from the Lagavulin warehouse, the Tomatin 36, the Glengoyne 30, that weird single cask of Barora that I managed to cheek my way into a sample of. It's pointless really suggesting them, because no one's going to go out and find them. This is a whiskey that I'll pull down from the shelves and I'll enjoy and I'll share with people. This is much more relevant, really.
For a sharing whiskey, absolutely. Blair is shouting out, Aquaviti, ask Ben what the older bottle was, please.
It was a Canadian blend, but it was from 1960, late 1950s, something like that. Can't remember what it was, but very much that old bottle effect. And everyone, although we weren't whiskey drinkers at the time, everyone who did that flight, that tasting, highlighted that one as their favorite, and they couldn't quite put their finger on why. They just said it just kind of melds well and it sits nicely on the palate.
Character. And I have to say, I fully believe that if we had a time machine and went back to when that was fresh, it wouldn't taste anything like it does now.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't legally age in glass, of course, but it bloody changes. It's a chemical thing. And it does change over time. And
it's a point of discussion I've had with my dad. He's a chemical engineer a bunch of times, and you go, there must be, I want to like pick it apart and figure out what is changing here, because there is something definitely that's going on with that whiskey. It's not cask aging, but it's kind of homogenizing. It's all coming together. And I
think when you get a taste for old bottle effect, when you know what old bottle effect is, you recognize it in other bottles.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter whether it's peated, lightly peated, unpeated. Even world whiskies, they have this same way of expressing the fact that they've been in glass for a long time.
Yeah.
Most of the time.
Johnny Walker Black that you shared from the 80s, was it? That stood out as really quite magical, and given that it was Johnny Walker Black.
Walker Black. Yeah, but unfortunately for us, it was bottled at a time when there was a ton more available stock.
Yeah.
And theoretically, I'm not suggesting that they did, because how can you tell? But theoretically, they could have picked from a much deeper malt stock back then.
Right.
Are there any whiskey moments you'd like to share with us, my friend?
Again, this has been a very good whiskey year for me, really. There's been so many to pick from. A quick mention to that weekend back in May when the Scotch Test Dummies were over and I caught up with you guys in Glasgow. That, although it was kind of a flying visit for me on the way back from Inverness.
Recovering from an infection, right?
As I had food poisoning. I hadn't eaten anything that day. I was on the fence as to whether I was going to catch up with you guys, and 12 drams in, I was like, I really need to find something to eat and hope that I keep it down before I die. But yeah, it was an amazing night, and catching up with all those guys, and like you say, the community and the vibe and everyone clicking together, bouncing off each other, but in such a positive way. It was quality.
Yes. That was my night as well. And I remember you being there, and I remember me apologising to you after it and saying, sorry we didn't get to hang. But I felt like that about everyone.
You didn't apologise. You were on the verge of telling me off. You can't possibly leave yet. We haven't hung out. That's along the lines of what you said. And I was like,
And I was also a wee bit annoyed because I think probably I wasn't aware that you were ill. And I didn't know that you were going to be there for sure. And it was only when I saw you, I turned around and I said, I recognise the guy. It was your back. I recognise the guy talking to Vin. Who's that? And it was you. And it was that point I was like, okay, I was very, very grateful that you were there, that you'd made it. And I'm very, very grateful for that event, for that night. And I hope that, I know that you've been up to Scotland a couple of times since, and the timing hasn't worked for us. But I have a feeling that you and I will raise a glass together in 2020. Do you agree?
I hope so. I certainly hope so.
Fantastic. Thank you, Ben, so much for all the content you've put out over the course of the year, despite a new baby on arrival earlier in the year as well. It's been tough for you, I know. But continue doing it, Ben, because you have a very good way of appreciating whiskey, and you have a very good way of sharing whiskey as well. And I like watching what you put out, my friend. I'm going to drop Ben's link in the chat as well, and I'll raise a glass to you and say, Sláinte, buddy, I hope to have you back on the channel again in 2020. You're almost a regular.
Cheers, Roy. It's great fun.
Take care, buddy. Let's go back to the bottle chasers and see what they are sipping now. Is that my wife's laptop is asking me to update it? No, I need you for the quiz. Let's go to the bottle chasers over there on the couch and see what these guys are. Hello, boys.
Roy,
how are we doing?
Barfly.
What are you sipping now?
Well,
indeed.
Poured a small dram of Mortlach 16.
Florin Fauna.
Mortlach 16, oh, okay, right. Would that be a Florin Fauna Mortlach 16 perchance?
That's the one. Yeah.
I hope you're enjoying it. It's a very nice. It's one of my favourites.
That's why we actually got it, because we don't have a lot of it left. To be fair,
no, there's not much.
I was going to say you don't have much left in your bottle, so
it's just a thimbleful. There's nothing in the glass. Just a wee taste.
I've got a little bit more. I've been savouring mine a little bit more. Scott just wolfed it down. To be fair, he's enjoying his.
It's for drinking. It's for drinking, right?
Yeah,
good stuff as
and
well.
it's the last live of the year. If you can't enjoy your whiskey in the last live of the year, when can you?
Absolutely.
I was going to say
good stuff. It's delicious. It really is nice. It's like really earthy, clay kind of thing going on there. It's amazing.
I think once you become familiar with Mortlach, I think the reason that Mortlach, that 16-year-old Flora and Fauna, was so successful is how utterly soft it is. And when I talked about that Tamdhu arriving on my palate like a big globule, that's how that Mortlach behaves. It's like soft, and I know it's only 43%. That's probably got a lot to do with the softness, because Mortlach's usually much bolder and beefier, but it still behaves a bit like a Mortlach, but it's an approachable Mortlach. It's a bit like your rugby playing bouncer buddy that's as gentle as a kitten, right?
Yeah. I've played. That pretty much describes Frank Murphy, the owner of the pot still.
The owner of the pot still, absolutely.
That is pretty much Frank in a description right there. So a Mortlach 16 Flora and Fauna. I'll remind him of that the next time we don the pitch together.
I don't want to be the guy who explains to Frank Murphy why we think he's like Mortlach 16. Okay, boys, I'll let you continue with your drinking, and I'll drop in on you a wee bit later. Don't worry, you can relax wherever you are. I'm not going to send you looking for anybody else. It's cool that the two of you are hanging out on the couch together. And I'll see you very soon.
Cheers.
Cheers, boys. Fantastic. Okay, let me try and get my wee rant and whiskey of the year thing over with. Ralphie touched on this ever so slightly, and while I'm going to differ a wee bit from Ralphie, I don't disagree with what he said or his opinions. He talked about a price in 2019, and I think he's got a very good point. But he didn't just talk about the fact that whiskey prices are increasing. I think they are from the producers, but if we notice, there are multiple places of purchase, of retail, or supply right across Europe. I can't speak for the States, where prices are softening. I also have a suspicion that auction prices are softening a little as well. The cabinets are starting to fill up, the boot space, the lockers, the collections, wherever people are keeping this stuff, starting to fill up a bit. So it has to flow back into the auction again, and the auctions are getting bigger and bigger month after month, and the prices are they're falling back into the lap of the drinker a wee bit more. And there are retailers right across the UK, right across Europe, where prices are soft still. Not for everything all the time. If it's limited edition, it's gone. If it's talked up, it's gone. If it's Macallan, it's gone. So as a community, we get together and we try and figure out where the good whiskey is still coming along at a good price. Ralphie obviously talked at length about how there were just far too cheap whiskies out there. There were Ardmores in the supermarket for £18 and less than things. And I get where he's coming from. The words he used was, it's not a good look. But also, I would like to think that there are good whiskies. I mean, Ardmore is usually fairly decent dram in my experience. Not always, but the majority of the time. And if there's a good gateway whiskey out there at that price that makes people take a gamble on a malt whiskey, that can be a good thing. Even although if it's not great, it just needs to be good enough to hook them and bring them in. The guests that I'm going to invite on a wee bit later, Phil and Deepa, their famous gateway whiskey was Ardmore, a very inexpensive Ardmore. So there's an argument for that as well. And can there be such a thing as too cheap? There can be such a thing as somebody not making money on something, and that's a problem. There has to be money made. But I think producers need to be checked from time to time. And once the price goes beyond the value, the engagement prospect, we need to step back. There will always be something else we can enjoy. And if something jumps up 20%, 25%, 30% in price from one batch to the next, we don't need to say we will never buy it, but we need to pause. That's a reminder that we are maybe not in charge of the spending all of a sudden. It's all too tempting to just chase that bottle, that next purchase. And I felt there were producers in 2019 that just decided that they were going to put their whiskey out there, not because they could justify the price based on the quality of the liquid and how the liquid was speaking, but because it was what the market would stand. Basically following the Macallan model of placement as a luxury product rather than a fantastic whiskey. Macallan 18-year-old, I'll remind you, is now £300 retail. What is going on? It's 18-year-old whiskey. I've held up something that would take Macallan 18's trousers down. That Arran 18-year-old is £80, sub £80. And I still think that that's a nudge too expensive. Not too expensive, but I think it could be a wee bit cheaper. Arran's prices have gone up a wee bit. Still, I would thoroughly recommend the Arran 18, even at that price, and it nearly got my whiskey of the year. Macallan 18 at £300, it's not even whiskey anymore. It's ornamental, it's decoration, it's brand. We know this. We don't need to talk about Macallan. Macallan is not for us. But I think there are people in the industry that look at Macallan and see them as a trailblazer, and they want to jump in the wake of Macallan. And that's fine, and I wish them the very best. It's their prerogative, it's their business model perhaps to go ahead and do that. But at that point, they're not going to connect with me as a whiskey enthusiast, as a whiskey drinker anymore. I wish them the very, very best of luck. But I can't evangelize about their product anymore because I would feel shame sharing that with you guys. You are such a knowledgeable, appreciative crowd that you know when somebody's trying to pull the wool over your eyes. Anyway, my whiskey of the year beat out Tamdhu 15 and it beat out Arran 18. And it did it because, and I think there is nobody in my Patreon and the chats that I've had on the Aquavitae Barflies Facebook group at various places, nobody has guessed the whiskey I'm going to nominate. And that was worrying a little bit, honestly. It's not a whiskey that came out in 2019. It came out in 2018. But the price that it came out for in 2018 was a step up from its previous iteration. It was deleted in 2015. It was discontinued, and they brought it back 3 years later in 2018 at a slightly elevated price. It was about £45 to £50 originally, and it came back at £60 to £65, so it was a bit more expensive. And there were people that complained that it was different whiskey, and there were people that complained that it was more expensive than previous, but I think there was an inevitability about that. But this whiskey has remained at that price. And I sipped this blind and back to back and put it up against all its peers. I'm not judging it against its old version. I'm judging it fully against its peers. And it still brings it. It brings fantastic presentation. It brings wonderful value. And it's a great whiskey that I'll have no shame in recommending to you. The Santa Claus comes off. And this is Glendronach 15. This is the revival, the revived revival. Wonderfully celebrated whiskey, obviously back before it was discontinued in 2015. It had much older stock in it. Now, it could have much older stock in it still, but now it's a slightly different version. There's PX in this, whereas previously it was, I believe, exclusively Oloroso. But it says that it's PX on this as well. This is from a huge company. This is from Brown-Forman now. Brown-Forman own Glendronach. And yet they're bringing this for £62. 15-year-old exclusively sherry matured whiskey. Let's compare that to the fabulous Tamdhu that Keith and I have just evangelized about. I can't talk about the prices in the States, of course, only where I'm from here in the UK and perhaps the wider Europe. But this is £15 or more less expensive than this at the same age and presentation, fully sherry matured, 46% ABV, natural colour. When you sip this and sip it in contrast with its peers, you see how good a value prospect this is. And I know this was launched in 2018, but that's not what we're voting for here. We're voting for what is continuing to bring it in 2019 and up until the present, and it's this whiskey. I think I'll always have a bottle of this in the cabinet, and that's why I would recommend anybody who has forgotten a wee bit about this whiskey to remember that it's there and reconnect with it again. It's fantastic stuff. Alistair Gray saying, great choice, Roy. Thanks, Alistair. Andy C. and East Kilbride is saying, love Rachel, 15, good value. Alexandra is saying, you realise you just drove the price up a few pounds with this. If that's true, we buy it at the price that it is now, and if the price jumps, it's out of sync again. It's suddenly lost the point that I gave it to make it Whiskey of the Year, and you can choose as knowledgeable barflies whether to engage or not. Whiskey Radar is saying Rachel Barry's doing well done indeed. John Paul Vanderhoven says price of Glendronach 15 dropped last week in the Netherlands. Exclusively sherry matured, single malt whiskey, 46%. Fantastic presentation. I guess it's going to be €60 or less. McCann Fine and Rare is saying, is it still my present or a new bottle? This is 2 bottles since your gift. My original bottle of the Revived Revival was gifted me by Doc McCann Fine and Rare. He gifted it to me when we met up for the first time in Deanston. I got through that bottle far too quickly. I bought another one, drained it, enjoyed it very much this year. And that was kind of what started to make me realise how good a product it still was. When I went out and bought this one, to double check my sanity on it, I still paid £61.95. Nothing to talk about. Oh, chat jump. Jimmy Legg is saying, I started drinking Macallan 12-year-old in 1985. It was great, and Macallan had an excellent reputation built on enthusiasts and people in the know back in the 80s. They've long since disengaged, Jimmy. I'm sure that it wasn't its peak, but it's slowly gone off my radar ever since. Exactly. Cresamira, good to see you in. Cresamira saying Glendronach is becoming my favourite, one of my favourite distillers. They're doing great stuff. Gregor is saying, yes, already have a bottle. Phew. Finally, a bottle I don't need to chase. Good for you, Gregor. And I'm hoping that that's the case for so many. Eric Evanson is saying it's around $90 here in the States. I think that to me sounds like reasonable, but value still, honestly. Alistair Gray is saying Rachel Barry's doing great things at Glendronach. Even I was a wee bit worried because Rachel Barry in my circle had a reputation for having a sweet tooth. And when I heard that there was PX going in there, I went, oh, it's going to be really sweet. It's going to be sweet. But honestly, when the spirit's good, the spirit's good. And if Rachel's made that, and if Rachel's somehow been able to put it together in order to maintain that price point, then yes, you're absolutely right. She has done a good job. Brian is Kilco saying around $80 in the States. Fantastic, so says my whiskey app. Michael is saying, I think that's a worthy pick. The older version beats it, in my opinion. I only have to refer you to the live stream I did back in October or whenever it was, 2018, when I had compared the two side by side. Comparing it to the old version isn't fair to the new version, or the old version, honestly. But I've said since its return that the new version is still a great whiskey in its own right. Absolutely, Michael. Going to pour a wee dram now. Tell me how you get on with it. Okay, sorry about my wee mini rant there. I hope that you find my choice at least interesting. I think it's a bit of a silly thing to have a whiskey of the year, but honestly, I also understand why it's a good thing as well. And I think people ask for it and kind of expect it, and they want to know what connects with you. 2019 was a difficult year for me because there were so many things that I connected with, so many that it made it difficult to pick one so that nothing stood out. And nothing stood out suggests that it was a bland year, but it wasn't. It was a wonderful... I had a lead chick, Single Malts of Scotland from the Whisky Exchange, a lead chick 11-year-old. I gifted a bottle to the Scotch Test Dummies. It just blew me away. I loved it so much. I had an SMWS Balmenic that I absolutely loved. I had a Glentochers, again from Single Malts of Scotland as well, that was wonderful. I had so many Campbelltown whiskies. I had so many fantastic New World whiskies, Texas whiskies, things that were amazing that you can't get, that I can't share with you because you can't go out and enjoy it, and I can't share it with you. That's the key. There are wonderful whiskey experiences every year. To consider that there's one whiskey better than all the others is nonsensical, honestly, even if you take away the subjectivity of individual palates. But there is still fun in saying, do you know what? Let's celebrate this whiskey for 2019. And the Glendronach 15 Revival is still great value and great presentation. Radek is saying, same price, Revival, Tamdu here, same price. In the Czech Republic, which one to buy? Honestly, I would just go right ahead and buy either or both. You're going to have fabulous whiskey, whichever one you do, Radek. And Jimmy Legg, Blair is saying, I recommend Electric 10 to people like me who don't want to spend $250 on Octomore. Electric 10 was seriously, and I get through so much. Electric 10 is not only a very good whiskey, it's ridiculously Moorish. It's wonderful whiskey for the price. Vicky Thompson is saying, Aquavite Royale 41. Not silly, we struggled too. Does that on order to pick your whiskey moment of the year? Doug Chrysop is in. Great. Doug, so good to see you. Just bought me a virtual dram saying, Roy, I almost said my 2019 whiskey highlight was meeting you at the Pastor's Ball. But thinking back, I say it was watching you meet Sam at the ball. That stream was hilarious. I think you're talking about Sam from My Whiskey She Wines. It was wonderful to meet Bobby and Sam and everybody at that event this year. Doug, it was fantastic to meet you as well. And I hope, my friend, it's not the last time. Thank you for your virtual dram. Slanchava. I need to be very careful tonight because Scott and Bart, Scotch Test Dummies, are going to join in this celebration of 2019 on a stream immediately after this. So please keep your glasses charged and be ready to hop on over the Atlantic to Scott and Bart for their stream, because I guarantee you it's going to be a fantastic event with a lot of wonderful whiskey folk participating. I'm hoping that I can get the quiz sorted and get it out of the way. Maybe not. Maybe we'll struggle. I'm under time pressure. I talk far too much, but you know this, and yet you still come and hang out with me. I'm forever, ever grateful for it. Let's get my last guests in. Wonderful people I got to hang out with. You know this, when you meet people virtually online and you think, I think those are really nice guys. I think if I hang out with them, I wonder if they can really be this nice. And I had a night in Glasgow with them, and they were fantastic. And they've left an impression on me ever since. I loved getting to hang out with. The channel is called Captain 3D, which would make you think it's got nothing to do with whiskey whatsoever, but it's a legacy name. But Phil and Deepa from that channel have fast-tracked from a bottle of Ardmore a long, long time ago now to amassing one of the most amazing whiskey collections and interrogating them in such a way that it's really become quite a unique thing. Phil and Deepa, can you hear me?
Cheers, everybody.
Hello, my friends.
Nice to be here.
Fantastic to see you both. So good to see you.
What we're sipping on at the moment.
Can I share the little video that you shared with me?
Yes, go ahead.
Phil thought it would be a great idea to send me a little video. I had to cut it back a wee bit, but hopefully it'll work, to share his whiskey highlights of 2019. StreamYard only lets me share 30 seconds of video, but this is quite fun, and I hope you enjoy.
Mummy and Daddy are in the back seat, and we're off to Isla.
Very nice.
Yeah. We've come to see some dirt. Special dirt, though. The weather is perfect.
Oh, wow.
It's amazing just to see Springbank at the end of the street, isn't it?
So balmy, so arctic.
Yeah, it really does represent the moment that we are in the shop.
Yes. Wow, it's beautiful.
Fantastic. So I think it's clear to see that your highlight of 2019 was a trip to Scotland.
It's so hard to say what the highlight is, because for us, everything's been new. That every week has been a new highlight. But obviously, going to Isla and Campbelltown is something that has been amazing. I think because of having the personal experience and then having that connect to the whiskey.
More fun.
It's been more fun. And for you, it was at Kilhoman, I think.
Multi-floor.
At the
Malting floors, yes.
At the you drink whiskey at the same time. Wow.
Yes.
Yeah, having a sip of the Kilhoman 100% Isla, the 9th edition, it was 1 week before they released it. Deepa was like, it's so malty. I said, well, we are in the malting floor. I'm not sure how much is coming out of the glass and how much is just in the room. But it's been such a fantastic memory.
It's funny. Some people ask me what it would take for them to get into peated whiskey. They're curious. They want to like peated whiskey. And I just say to them, look, a trip to Isla, it's impossible not to be seduced, right?
Yeah.
It's wonderful.
A lot of it's smaller scale, especially somewhere like Kilhoman, where you can really see all the pieces.
Yeah, you do feel like you're able to touch and breathe and really feel everything. And it does. You've already connected with the whiskey before you go, but it's so profound, as Deepa said. It's so profound when you get there that you can't help but be seduced. people hear me evangelizing about Isla all the time, but it's real. Am I right?
Oh, it is real. Going to Isla, I mean, you saw the little clip of Deepa running, because we'd booked the trip to Isla because we decided to have a year off our normal marathon running routine. And then when we booked the trip, we found out the marathon was on the day that we arrived. Deepa ended up winning the women's race and a bottle of Ardbeg. And she
Can we just raise a glass, everybody, to Bionic Deepa, most amazing, for winning the ladies' Isla Marathon.
So now she has to go back and defend her record, of course. But you were saying about, the air of Isla.
Oh, I thought it was the power of the air.
The power of
That
the air.
made it shine. There was something about the air.
It's the Atlantic Ocean doesn't give that island much peace.
Yeah.
But you can be sure that the air you're breathing is as clean as air can possibly be, right?
That's right. I have to say it was hard, though, having to run past Brookladdy on the way and still think you're going all the way to Port Ellen before you could stop.
Because people think it's a tiny island, and it is small, but it still takes, a good 30, 40 minutes to go from the southern distilleries to the northern distilleries, right? Because the roads are really small and things, and it is a big distance. But congratulations, guys. But you both ran in it, but Deepa, it's fair to say, excelled, right?
Yes, she did.
So I saw you holding up an Isla whiskey there as well in a yellow tin. And I know that it had to be cut from that video that you shared, but you found that line on the floor in a corner of a grocer's shop or something, right?
It was one of we've had such a lot of fun with the Dusty Bottle shopping this year. But
making videos about it too.
Yeah, making the videos. Brookladdy Isla barley is typically not difficult to find here. I think it's just another one, it's one that we have gone back to all year and compared it to others. In fact, you can see it behind me. Oh yeah, it is hard to point in the mirror there. And it's held off a lot of other whiskies that you would expect to have beaten it for our
wow.
at least. Because I think it was one of those first whiskies, a bit like the Ardmore, that we just loved that flavor. It was the first time we'd really tasted something that was sort of farmyard hay and sunshine, as opposed to, the sherry and heavier fruits type of thing.
I've never experienced that before.
Yeah, we hadn't experienced it, but we really fell for it. And so it's one of those early experiences that have stuck. And so it's become a bit of a sort of, let's touch base back to Isla barley and see where we are again. And every time we go back, we still think it's good.
I think we keep coming back.
Yeah, we keep coming back.
And it still keeps bobbing up and becoming a bit of a champion. But do you not think that you have so much to thank that little humble bottle of Ardmore for, right? Because I'm talking about somebody who's got a massive passion for whiskey, somebody who's sorry, I shouldn't say somebody, a couple who've got a huge passion for blind tasting, for whiskey community, and not just creating a YouTube channel, but traveling back to your homeland with a completely different perspective, all based on that little bottle of Ardmore, right?
And it was Ardmore Legacy as well from the supermarket. But again, if you've not tasted whiskey before, other than maybe a more simple blend,
yes,
the first thing where you're like, wait, there's something else going on here. That tiny little bit of peat. I guess people get that from Highland Park as well, but for us, it was an extra bit of peat, that bit of caramel. We're like, there's something more going on here than we ever thought was in whiskey.
Yeah.
I wonder if there's more that are better, and that's what.
I remember the video, and I remember I appeared in your montage of all the little thumbnails that you threw up, and you said, "Oh, it turns out there's a lot of opinion out there." Little did we know that you'd be sitting here and would be friends.
Yeah.
One of my highlights was meeting you guys for dinner, going for some drinks, hearing your history, hearing the backstory, just being amazed by it all. And just thinking, wow, how unique it is for all this to have happened in that series of events. I want to shout out to Ross. I think he's in South Carolina. He's in one of the Carolinas. He just bought me a virtual dram. He said their trip videos reminded Jill and I so much of our trip to Isla this year. My highlight of the year, when paired with spending a little time with you again. Thanks, Roy. I got to meet Ross and Jill when they were over. I got to meet them last year, and then again in 2019 again when they were over. And a privilege it was as well. I'm going to raise this glass to Quarter Jill and say, Slancher it, Ross. And Jill, I hope you're very, very well. Pleasure. So there you go. These guys have been watching you as well. Your content on YouTube is unique, Phil and Deepa, unique. Nobody is obsessing over blind tasting like you guys, not even me.
If we move to the side, you can get a little shot of all the bottles that we are blind tasting our way through.
Yes. All of those. You have no idea what's in those until you burst the labels open, right?
We've never tried them before.
And it's fascinating. And what you're doing is you're admitting your journey as you go. So what you're saying is, we didn't like this and now we love it. That's bizarre. So what you're saying is the whiskey hasn't changed, maybe a wee bit. You've changed.
Yeah, I mean, that is definitely the case. I mean, we had that with Glendronach 12 that we rated extremely highly on the first 24 blind tasting.
43% ABV.
Back to it, almost a year later, we're like, not really much going on here. It's nice, it's pleasant. I think we called it politely pleasant and enjoyable, but not a highlight.
But you very quickly fast-tracked to that enjoyment that the higher ABV brings, the higher the grip, the texture, the things that I remember you putting. I don't know if it was one of the Ardbegs that scored very, very poorly in your first ever blind challenge, but you forgot that it was 54% ABV. Was it Corryvreckan or Ugadal or something?
That was actually Abelard, Abuna.
Oh, Abuna. The concept of cask strength whiskey hadn't really sunk in yet.
Actually, I can tell you that in the original 24, Ardbeg Ugadal was it 10. But the first time we tried Ardbeg Ugadal, which is high ABV, we were put off. But it's actually just come up in our blind tasting recently. Now, we're always shooting a bit ahead because we need to find out the names. But watching the video, I'm saying, yeah, it's not that strong. This is maybe a 46 or a 40, but it's 54%. So at that point, I was like, okay, we've got to that stage, I guess. And then something like this. I did want to just flash back to Islay for a minute. I know that's odd holding up Elijah Craig barrel proof. But one of the highlights of the Islay and the Campbelltown trip was taking this around to every shop and distillery and pouring it for people in Scotland. And the fact that we had never tasted it, but we're pouring it for other people. But we understand this whiskey so well from what everyone else has said. we might even pick it out in the blind tasting now. But and pouring that at.
So for those of you that haven't seen Phil and Deepa's content and videos, any distillery that they were going to, any meetup they were having, any shop that they walked into, they were popping open bourbons. They brought mostly cask strength or barrel proof bourbons from the States, and they were sharing them openly. And I don't think many people turned you down, right?
Oh no, everyone. I mean, it was interesting to see the professional side and then just the consumer side, because at Glen Scotia, Ian McAllister, his first sip, he was like, well, we need to get some of these barrels. You could see the second stage of what he was thinking when he was tasting the bourbon. And no one had ever said that before. And I thought that was interesting as well.
Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. So I take it that your love of Islay barley is prominent right now. You're really loving that Bruichladdich Islay barley. And the good thing about that is as well, it's a batch product, but it comes out regularly. You can track, you managed to get an older version, but you can track that down. You can try it. They do Scottish barley and other versions as well. Yeah. But that Islay whiskey that you've connected with there is unpeated, right? It's an unpeated Bruichladdich.
This is unpeated. It's, 6 years old?
Yeah.
To try one that's a bit older. But
the ABV is in the high 50s, right?
Yeah, I think it's a straight 50. Yeah,
50%, very typical of Bruichladdich. Yes, I should have remembered that. Absolutely, 50%. Listen, guys, I want to just say a huge thanks to you. I think there was a danger when you first. Oh, we have to, don't we? I'm running out of time, and I'm running out of glasses as well. But
I'll explain. So in the Cadenhead shop that you saw in the video clip, this is the bottle that was filled. Obviously, we haven't opened it, and Roy has a sample as well, and actually Ben has one. But we have never tried it, obviously, because we normally blind taste. So
let's bring Ben in.
Hey, Ben. Nice.
So, Ben.
I wanted to make Phil and Deepa the big screen. We won't do that.
That's fine.
Let's try. We do that. That's better. That's better.
And so we're breaking tradition, and that is actually knowing what we're drinking.
Yes, this is not normal. But I mean, this is what Whiskey Shared is about. Sometimes if you blind taste, you can ruin a ceremony over opening a very special bottle, a very nice bottle. It's sometimes nice to have a shared experience and you all know what you're having at the same time.
56.1%. And this is a living cask in the Cadenhead shop in Campbelltown, which actually is a big glass jar where Springbank show up with a bunch of boxes of unlabeled bottles and they pour it in, and it's sort of an infinity Springbank.
And you thought it was free.
And well, we have no idea what age it might be, but presumably somewhat young. Ben, give us some notes.
Well, the first time that I sipped this was when you guys visited us, and I really acutely got this. We get crunchy chocolate bars over here in the UK, but this time round with a sullied palate after the Port Charlotte, I'm getting ginger biscuits, ginger snaps
at the end,
and there's a good chunk of that typical Campbelltown funk kind of soapy slate stone. It's really, really nice, but it is an interesting one, and I've not had many drams of it, but it's evolving as it goes down.
It's quite sweet.
I would love to think I could pick this out as a Springbank blind.
Yeah.
But because we know it's Springbank, so it tastes like Springbank, right? But it's there, that Springbank DNA is there. Now, theoretically, it could still be a single malt as well, even if it's Longrow, Hazelburn, Springbank. It's all from the same distillery.
They had separate jars for Longrow, Hazelburn, and Springbank.
So this is Springbank.
This is only Springbank.
So it is still a single malt. But interestingly, and the reason is for reasons you've just explained, it's labelled as PBS, which is pure British spirit, right?
Ah, right. Yeah. 2.5.
So they're being very, let's suggest that maybe less than 3-year-old went in at some point. Immediately, it's not malt whiskey anymore. So that I guess that's potentially why they label it as such. Wonderful stuff. And I can't imagine a better way to actually open that wee sample bottle and share it than doing this right now, right?
So now we'll put it in the blind tasting, and then we'll see if we actually find it next time it comes up.
That's a fantastic idea. Absolutely fantastic. Can I just say to you, as I was going to say earlier, I was a wee bit nervous that when I first had you on the channel back in, I think it was 2018, that it might be just kind of a fun project, a fun video that you were doing, and you might kind of tail off a bit. But whiskey has fully bitten both of you, and you're very much enjoying it. I can see that, and I can see it with how much content you're sharing as well. Everybody that enjoys that kind of thing has enjoyed watching your whiskey shop videos. They've enjoyed your blind tasting videos and just watching and following, literally, virtually in real time, your whiskey journey. It's a very special thing. And as I've already said, Phil and Deepa, it is utterly unique. There is nothing else on YouTube like what you guys are doing.
And for anyone who's near the San Francisco area, there's now about 10 of us who are starting to bottle share and get together. So you can email me at whiskey@captain3d.com. And we'll try and
whiskey@captain3d.com.
whiskey@captain3d.com.
This is delicious.
Yeah.
Do you know who I think would enjoy this? The bottle chasers, both Campbelltown whiskey lovers. Are they still here? Oh, they are. Hello, boys, Sebby and Scott. Oh, how's the night going over there? How's it going?
Yeah, not too bad, thanks. We just
they've killed their mic.
It's running out of power.
Here we go.
Oh. What are you drinking now, boys? I'm having a nice Springbank here. I know you would love it.
I've opened up. I've had this for a month or so. My Anok 16. Can you see it?
That's the 100th anniversary, Anok. Yeah, cask strength, 16-year-old, exclusively ex-bourbon cask, one of my absolute favourites. I treasure it very, very much.
Absolutely. And also we asked I don't know whether you saw in the chat, we asked the Barflies for their whiskies of the year to see what they thought they really enjoyed about 2019. And the first question was from the birthday boy, Ira McFault. And he very aptly chose the Deemston 12-year-old Palo Cortado finish. So
is that open?
It is open, yes. It's a
wow.
newish bottle, though. As you can see, that the label is just about kind of
It's
still there.
It's only. I opened it tonight. It's just the night pour from my bottle, but it's good so far.
It's very, very good so far, TV. We're running out of glasses, if I'm honest. But I know.
Some more in the sink. Okay.
There'll be some more in the sink. Scott's away to wash a couple more glasses, I think.
Good for you, boys. I'm going to tune in and check on you in just a wee second. In the meantime, see you soon. Ha ha ha. You're going to see why I'm getting a wee bit anxious in a minute.
Oh, gosh.
Ben, hang around for the quiz. I'm hoping I've got time to squeeze in the quiz, but I'm trying to cram now. I've got half an hour left before the Scotch Test Dummies go live. Ben, thank you so much, my friend. Thanks for dropping in and sharing that dram with us.
Thank you.
Phil and Deepa, as I've already said, guys, I love you both. It was wonderful to hang out with you this year. Please don't let it be the last time, and please keep doing what you're doing.
Cheers, Roy. Thanks for having us.
Slancheva. Okay, somebody I want to pull in quickly. Scott from Scotch Test Dummies has dropped in, and it's going to. I'm going to be handing the baton over to them in just under 30 minutes from now. I'm going to try and race through the quiz and everything as fast as I can. We might not manage it. We might not achieve it. We'll do our very, very best. I will not stand on your toes. Scott, how are you, my friend?
Good. I hope he sees me and he brings me in real quick. Can you hear me?
Yes, I appreciate that you've got a stream to set up. You've got guests to look after yourself.
Yep.
I just wanted to bring you in now rather than leaving you till the last minute.
Good.
Are you all sorted for your gig tonight?
I think so, and I've got my invites sent out to my guests. The only one you left out earlier was Liquor Hound, Chris Trevino, who we met this year down at Iron Root at their 5th anniversary. A lot of people know Liquor Hound. I think he's been on YouTube. He's one of the OGs, the original gangsters, as you would say, and I was glad that he was acceptable to our invite. And of course, Chad and Sarah from It's Bourbon Night will be here. I've got Rob and Jeremy, our Canadian brotherhood of YouTubers, will be joining us. Jason Mash and Drum, and I think that's it. Did I leave somebody out? Daniel from the Whiskey Vault.
Only the largest channel on YouTube.
Yeah.
Listen, I can't tell you how excited I am. I never imagined back a couple of years ago that we would be able to look forward to a live stream on the Scotch Test Dummies channel where literally the who's who of YouTube creators would all just be hanging out to celebrate 2019.
Mm-hmm.
It's fabulous, isn't it?
Yep, looking forward to it. And I've got a little, I poured 3 blind pours for Bart, kind of mostly kind of a highlight of the year. He doesn't know about this yet.
Oh, sneaky.
I'll walk him through it and as we go as well and see what he thinks. So
sneaky, but I like it. I like it a lot.
I thought that was a little Roy touch myself.
Absolutely. Listen, I don't know if you caught me talking about my highlight. I've obviously shared my whiskey of 2019 was the Glendronach 15 Revival for its quality and price that it keeps coming. But my whiskey highlight of 2019, it was really difficult to pick. But having you guys, welcoming you guys in my home in Glasgow and the streets around here and the bars around here and hanging out with you in May this year was wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope that we have the opportunity to do it. I won't do what I did to you in your live stream and bully you into committing to your next trip to Scotland. But I hope that it was enjoyable enough for not to be your last time, my friend.
Well, I've been tuning in from the start, so I've just been a barfly, though. I've been setting up and had a couple drinks myself, getting ready. Real kind words from everybody that's been on you and Keith as well. I heard Ben and Scott and Sevi as well. Everybody talking about the meetup over there, so appreciate it. All the kind words from everybody.
The more the story is retold, the more legendary it becomes. The funnier Bart's stories become. The more whiskey is consumed, right?
That's right.
These things. I hope that 2020 brings us the opportunity to do it again. Listen, my friend, before I finish tonight, and I'm going to have to race through this quiz, like I've never raced through a quiz before, because if I don't do a quiz, there will be threats. I will paste the link to your stream in the chat. I'll have to remember to do that. I should do it right now. You've already scheduled it. It's ready to go. Am I right?
Yep, it's up. And like I say, my invites are out. And then also, I know you've mentioned it, but Bourbon Junkies will be following us as well.
Yeah.
at 7 p.m. Central Time, 8 Eastern Time. And actually, I don't know. I haven't seen who they've invited on, who they have as guests.
Well, what I'll do is I'll paste your stream into the end of mine at the tail. I've just copied it to the clipboard there as we're speaking. When you guys finish up, hopefully you'll paste Dan and Sean, isn't it?
Yeah.
Their link in, and we'll just keep the baton going. And you never know, maybe somebody away out in a late time zone like an Eric Waite or somebody might pick it up even beyond that and keep it going.
Yeah, that's true. Yep. Bart is on his way here. I see a couple of comments about where's Bart. He'll be here. He's on his way. My doorbell will probably be ringing any minute. So
Bart's too expensive to have there all the time, right?
Yeah.
You only have him when you need him.
No, because he drinks the cheap stuff. So that's good with me.
That's good. Scott, fantastic. Thank you so much for everything that you bring to this community. Please keep doing it. My friends, I'll raise a glass to you and say I wish you very, very, very best for the stream and all the best for 2020. It's a pleasure to know you both and a pleasure to call you friends. Sláinte.
Sláinte, Roy. Same to you.
Take care, buddy, and good luck tonight.
Yep. Thank you. You too.
Superb guys. Superb guys. It's every time I see the creators that we have in here, I'm talking about Scott and Bart, I'm talking about Keith, I'm talking about the guys that you've met tonight, I'm talking about the guys that you're going to see on the Scottish Test Dummies stream, I'm talking about Daniel Whittington, all of these people. I always feel lucky to have them in the community and doing what they're doing. It's a pleasure to know so many of them. Okay. Boys.
Hi.
What are you doing? What are you up to?
We've had a bit of an accident, Scott.
Have you accidentally opened a bottle?
Yeah, no, Scott's dropped a bottle of 40-year-old Strathila.
A 40-year-old Strathila dropped.
Yeah. I don't know. We're
That
cleaning
does
up.
sound like a bit of a disaster.
Well, to be fair, we didn't hear it was very good, to be fair. Is it all right? What do you think? We're going to be all right? We're going to be able to...
There's half a bottle left.
Right, do you think it's possible for me to do a quiz in 15 minutes?
No.
No. Yeah, maybe. But
I think we may have to abandon the quiz.
Well, surely, maybe. How about
5 questions?
5 questions, or maybe you could run. I know, obviously, the Scotch Test Dummies are going live very soon, but if
I tell you what. Why don't you jump in a cab?
Sure.
Take a plane, run, walk, do whatever it takes in order for you to go over here and sit beside me so that I can fill these 2 seats with the other 2 bottle chasers.
Do you think we could do this, Scotty? What do you think? How long is this going to take us?
Yeah, we're going to with me.
We get Uber and then we can be there in about 10, 15.
Right, let's do it. Come on, Scotty, let's go. Let's do this. Are you ready for this, Barflies? Where are we going? This feels like Challenge Annika. Oh, look at this!
Sammy the Alchemist. So good. Welcome to the vPub. Welcome to
Thank
the
you
vPub
very much.
again.
Thank you. Thank you.
Welcome. Come in.
That was fine.
Yeah, the Strathila is absolutely fine. Don't worry.
Kill this one.
All right. Oh, Scott, you know how to do that. Here we go. That's us. We're in.
And we're here.
We're in.
We're here.
We are here.
We are here together.
Yes.
Hello, Barflies.
Hey, Barflies, how you doing?
The reason I was so anxious as I dropped in on these guys all night is that they've been sitting next door and helping themselves to my collection. What are you drinking now?
You don't want to know.
It's not the 40-year-old Strathila, so don't worry.
Kilkerran, 8-year-old, new one.
Very, very
okay. That was open. You're very welcome to
very
that.
Good.
Did you enjoy that, Anok?
Yes, the Anok. The Anok, super fruity. How good's that?
Fruit, vanilla.
Honestly,
amazing.
like that is a revelation this year.
And I don't mind the Palo Cortado Deanston getting opened. It's Era's birthday. He sent me a wonderful email today. He shared with me that it was one of his whiskies of the year.
Happy birthday, my friends.
Happy birthday, Era.
Very happy returns, Era.
Cheers to you, sir.
And I have to agree, it was one of my favourite.
Not fooled me.
The good one. We've tried our best not to drink too much of your stuff. Rob.
I know.
Right, let's have 5 questions and then pass over to the Scotch test.
Sure.
Well, we do 5 questions as fast as we possibly can.
Sure.
Then I'll come in and say goodbye to everybody. I
Yeah.
feel really bad because of all of these fantastic barflies hanging out all over the world. And I've just kind of ran over, which was inevitable when you think about it. That's the Scotch Test Dummy stream. This is us, still over 200 of them waiting to go over and hang out with all the stars of Whiskey Tube. Hanging out with the Scotch Test Dummies. So let's do the best we can. Are you guys going to compete against each other? That's what you have to do. Here's some paper.
Oh my goodness.
Thank you,
There
sir.
you go.
Thank
Take
you
a
very
pen.
much. Great.
Here's a pen for Sebi.
Perfect.
And you
Thank
all
you.
just a big letter, and then
No
you
bother.
can
Perfect.
compete. Let's go on with this quiz, fastest quiz ever. Maybe only manage 5 questions. Going to have to keep an eye on this time. I will not encroach on the Scotch Test Dummies live. Multiple choice, same as always. You know the score. Why would I even bother going through it with you? Let's do this. Question 1, folk. Glendronach, 15-year-old revival, was discontinued in 2015, then revived again in which year? If you were paying attention, boys, you would know this. Is it 2017 it was revived? The revived revival, 2018 or 2019? Answers, we'll give them a few seconds, and then let's see what you've written down, Sevi. Now, Sevi is used to scoring high, 8,
Yeah, I know.
9, 10 out of 10.
Oh no.
Let's see how he does when he's actually live.
I know.
Scotty has chosen, he's going for that as well.
Live's always the hard. That's always the harder when you're doing it live.
Look at Whiskey Jason. Whiskey Jason, I thought about reaching out to you, big guy. If we need to do something in 2020. You're always in here looking after me. You're always helping to run this. You're here. You're one of the most regular guys. Let's raise a glass to Whiskey Jason out.
Absolutely.
Whiskey Jason.
He does a channel in German and English.
Wow.
Cheers, Jason.
Yes.
Cheers, Jason. Slancha, my friend.
I would struggle to do it in English.
Looks like everybody's already got it. It was revived, of course, in 2018. These boys, both got it absolutely
Yes.
right. Question 2. Ralphie's Whiskey of the Year was announced earlier this week. Was it A, a Highlander, B, a Lowlander, or C, a Speyside?
I'm terrible at these questions. I'm terrible at these questions.
Well, you have to remember your regions. Of course, most people know what Ralphie announced as his Whiskey of the Year, but was it a Highlander, was it a Lowlander, or was it a Speyside? Let's look at Scotty and say,
I'm going to go with that. I'm terrible at these.
okay, that's H.
Oh, right. Sorry.
This is fantastic. This is fantastic to have you guys sitting here.
This is
Can I just
amazing.
recall a story? 2017, I'm a guest on a live stream on the Scotch for Dummies channel, and Mark Broder calls out. He says, "Hey, Roy, Kilted Moose is in. Don't you guys live in the same town?" And I was embarrassed to admit back then that I knew you lived here, and I've been following you, your blog that you were writing, whiskey reviews. I knew you on social media,
Yeah.
and I knew that you lived in Glasgow, and we hadn't met up. But we've made up for that since.
We've met up loads
We
of
need,
times.
we need more of an effort in 2020, though.
Very
right?
much so, yeah. There's
Yes.
plenty of whiskey to be drunk.
Absolutely, too much whiskey.
Yeah.
Kilton Moose looked like Eddie Vedder back in that those
Ah,
days. Was
that's
that
right.
before
Oh,
I
no,
had
yeah,
long hair as well.
You cut a
1991.
good goth groove, didn't you?
Yes.
at
I
times?
did.
Yes.
A lovely crimp.
Okay, let's tell you that, of course, Deanston 12 was Ralphie's Whiskey of the Year. I think a very worthy
yes.
Whiskey of the Year as well.
An
And
H.
it is a Highlander. Question 3. This is a crazy thing. Diageo's 2019 special releases featured a Talisker of what age? Was it A, 8 years old, B, 10 years old, C, 15 years old? I think this is quite an easy quiz tonight. But the 2019, that's the key here. 2019 Diageo special releases. Every year Diageo bring out some wonderful special releases for us. Every year it creeps up in price. But occasionally they bring along a gem. And I have to say, one of the 20, I can't spoil this, one of the 2018 releases was an absolute blinder of a dram.
Great
A
whiskey.
gem. A
Great
gem.
whiskey.
Yeah.
We sampled it tonight.
Have I got any left of it?
No, you do. You do. You've only got a small dram of it.
One
left.
dram of
Small-
it
yeah,
left.
one
This is a
dram.
recycling.
We never.
bin.
We didn't. It's the recycled review. We're keeping them all for you. That's why we just put them down to the bottom.
Lots of people think it's Talisker A, but I can tell you that the 2019 release was actually 15 years old. All of the Diageo special releases are cask strength, but what was bizarre about 2019 releases is that only the Mortlach, the Petit Vake, and the Singleton was released in the States. So as far as I understand, North America didn't even get the Lagavulin 12 this year.
I didn't know that.
That's incredible
Wow.
to read.
Is it any good?
Maybe I've not tried anything.
No, I
from
didn't.
it.
No, I
buy it.
I've not
And
tried
the
anything.
The Talisker 15 is good. Well, I say it's good. It's not as good as 8 in my
No.
opinion, but it's good.
Too many whiskies, not enough liver. Question 4. Global single malt Scotch growth in the last 6 years is said to have been strong. But how strong?
Quite strong.
Is it 7% strong, 27% strong, 67% strong? So that's kind of mild to lukewarm. Pretty good performance to wow, kicking out of the park.
Yep.
Single malt Scotch is the key in this question. I'm speaking about not Scotch as a category, but specifically single malt Scotch. Since 2012 to 2018, that's the year's figures. It kind of took everybody by surprise. This was a big deal, and that was because
first guess of the night, and I'm fairly sure I've got it wrong.
Scott and Sevy both had a wee banana skin here. It's an
Oh, disaster.
I think it was DH Silv that said, I can't remember who it was that called out some of my questions as asshat questions. That's one of them. But it's to make a point, is to talk about the fact that Scotch whisky grew in 6 years 10%, which is pretty bloody good growth. But blends actually shrunk a wee bit in 6 years.
That's amazing.
Wow.
Single malt is blowing the doors off 67%.
The answers are all over the place as well.
Incredible. That's definitely a banana skin.
Connor Strang always gets that.
Is Connor in?
Strang, yes,
Yes.
He's just Connor Strang.
He's the A student.
He's the man you need to listen to.
He's the A student. He's the A student. The OG A student.
That's it.
Okay, we're looking at a picture here. I just want to know what distillery we're looking at. Massive big worm tubs there. So we're obviously looking at the outside of a still house with massive worm tubs. Is it an Ardgowan? Is it Ardnahoe? Or is it Ardnamurchan? We're looking at
I'm terrible at these. Are my worst. I hate them.
You can either go with the moose here, who thinks it's that
I'm
one.
gonna, because I haven't seen. I think I've seen the other two, so I'm gonna go for that one. This is a bit of a guess as well. I'm not entirely sure.
Blair is saying, asshat is me, as you know, Aquavite. Blair, I doubt very much you are, but maybe we'll have a chance to meet up in real life. And if you are indeed an asshat, I'll be sure to share it with our community. But I don't, there's no way that...
I do know, Sig, I'm not telling
There's no way that Jimmy Legg is an asshat. Okay, I can tell everybody that we are indeed looking at the still house.
Begins with an A.
Of
Yes!
Ardnahoe.
It's a guess.
I celebrated Ardnahoe this year for that very thing, for the natural. They chose wooden washbacks. They chose as to give their whiskey the best chances possible as natural and as traditional a process as possible, including worm tub condensation.
It's also going to say if you're right.
What time is it? Let's look. 47.
Yeah.
How quickly can we get 5 questions on? Let's go.
Let's go. Royal 431 said Ardnahoe because it looks new. To be honest, I'm with you, pal. That's why I went for that, because it
Ardnamurchan.
Oh yeah,
and Ardgowan are both brand new
as well.
Ardgowan isn't even run the spirit yet, I don't think. Ardnamurchan is only a couple of years old as well.
Total guess. There we go.
It's not my first rodeo, Sevy.
Yeah.
Okay. And there's a better picture of Ardnahoe as well.
If you'd done that, I'd have guessed it.
Yeah. Reading that certainly helps. This is getting a bit silly. Which of these new Scotch distilleries ran its first spirit in 2019? Is it A, Lag in Arran, Torrevake in Skye, or Glenwivis in the Highlands? 2019, I sense a banana skin. The crowd are not happy. We were going to open things. We were going to share things. We were going to uncork things.
Well, we can still do that while we're going if you want.
We need to do it while we're watching, I think, now, rather than presenting, I guess. Okay, everybody, I'm just going to fly through this, really. I can tell you that the Scotch distilleries ran its first spirit.
I'm going to A.
I'm going to B.
Yes!
Sevy pulls one back. Lag in the south of Arran in March this year started to run peated distillate from Lag Distillery, and I wish them all the very best too. That's knowledgeable folk.
They are indeed.
Knowledgeable.
More knowledgeable than me, certainly.
Great minds think alike, as they say.
They're doing good. They're doing well.
Question 7, which of these is an important part of the best-selling blend in the USA? So it's a double-layered question. You need to know what the best-selling blend is to know the answer to this. The best-selling blend in the UK has a major component in A, Aberlour, B, Aberfeldy, or C, a Thrusk. So what I'm saying there is Pernod Ricard. I'm saying, who would that be? Bacardi, or a Thrusk would be Diageo.
Yep.
Best-selling blend in the US.
Oh, I'm going
Sebi's
there. I'm
guessing.
going there. I'm guessing again. These are tough ones tonight. No.
I think the Too Slow is in. Thank you so much for your recent Patreon support as well. It's fabulous to have you, my friend, and it's fabulous to see that you're getting 5 out of 6 as well.
Everyone's against me.
Oh, I have to tell you, the crowd knows better than the Sebis and the Scots, I think.
I've gone A.
I've gone A.
I've gone C.
Oh, no.
I can tell you, you're both wrong.
It's Aberfeldy.
The best-selling Scotch in the US is Dewar's White Label, of course, and Aberfeldy is Dewar's, one of the backbone
Yeah,
malts.
I was there 3 months ago.
Raging.
I went to Aberfeldy. That's terrible.
Congratulations to the barflies in the lounge. You
Yes.
did a better job than the boys here. As we move on to
Yes.
question 8. Against All Odds was a brand new Canadian peated whiskey released in 2019 by whom?
Phil
This
Collins.
is the horrific question.
Phil Collins.
Against All Odds, right? Said the music
Phil
journalist.
Collins.
There was only 107 bottles of this. This is a
Oh my
terrible, terrible question. But is it Spirit of York in Canada, Lucky Bastard in Canada, or Do Glass in Canada?
These sound like boats.
Well, I can tell you that they may be boats, but they're certainly distilleries in
okay.
Canada.
Right, okay.
Rock bands.
Against All Odds.
Right.
And
okay.
before Blair wades in and calls me.
I'm going to
out
go.
for-
I'm going to go with another guess.
Okay, I can tell you that Against All Odds was 107 bottles released from Do Glass in British Columbia in the Okanagan Valley. They released it this year. Do Glass, I think that must do is black and
Yeah.
Glass is green, I think, or field. So Glenfarr Glass. Glasgow.
Of course.
Yes,
Green,
of
yeah,
course,
so
Of
green.
course, of course. Yep.
Absolutely.
Question 9. Which of these was created in 2019? Oh, Roy.
The Bottle Chasers.
I've just,
Sorry. All right.
right, I've just, yeah, that could have been just
Give
as,
you the answers.
Question A, the Aquavita Patreon page, of which there are now 219 of us strong. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Pleasure.
Thank you all so much. B, the Aquavita Facebook page, which you're also members of, and the Aquavita Barflies Facebook page. Only one of those was created in 2019, which was a very self-indulgent question. But I wanted it there as a reminder to say thank you to everybody that's supported on Facebook, on the Aquavita page. So many of you coming on and supporting on Patreon as well. You're wonderful. You're really making everything so special, not just with your contributions, but your wonderful support and messages as well. And of course, the most recently, the Barflies group has been made to do this, to connect people in real life. That's why it exists, to give people inspiration and ideas and find out where people are located and get them together, get them arriving at the same events at the same time and getting this real community to hook up together. I can tell you, of course, in 2019, the Aquavita Barflies page was created out of Rolf Ebhead, wonderful guy.
Top guy.
Back on the wagon here. We're back on.
The Facebook page that he created last year for the Glasgow meetup. And finally, question 10, which of these distilleries made a global ad campaign featuring an international footballer? It was said to be cringy. It was said to be cringy, and it was said to be a bit of a misstep. And yet, it was A, Speyside Distillery, B, Glenfiddich, or C, Dalmore. We've got 7 minutes left before the dummies go live. My goodness. We've nailed the quiz. Please share, everybody, how your scores are, as I tell you that it was Michael Owen, and it was a terrible, and it was a cringy ad,
Awful.
but yet this distillery has gone on to such great things in Taiwan and China. It's not even funny. They're blowing the doors off in Asia.
Okay.
And it's not, at least in part, to do with this advertising campaign that we found so difficult to watch, but it was very, very successful for them. Our opinions are not always the be-all and end-all. I can tell you that it was, of course, A for Speyside.
Yes.
Boys, what did you score?
I had 6 out of 10.
Oh, that's a bad score.
I get 7.
7.
I don't believe
7. No, I did. I've got 3. There you go.
Right, and we need to charge our glasses. I need to charge our glasses with this
Can I
Bimber.
just say the Bimber?
Yes, the Bimber.
Regarding whiskey of the year, Bimber was my second favourite whiskey of the year. This is an incredible.
It's incredible.
Single
I've only
malt.
had a few sips.
It's a must, but it's brilliant. It's so good.
I had this thing in my head that I was going to summarize. What I have to do is I need to paste in the chat the link for the. I'll make sure it's the last thing I do before I hit that enter button. Please make sure I enter that.
Okay.
Okay. 8 out of 10, 6 out of 10. We're looking for
Our
the big.
baggy. Our baggy's
Our
got
baggy
a
out of 10 out of 10.
Andy.
you would. It couldn't happen to a better guy.
Never in doubt.
Absolutely.
Brilliant.
Never in doubt.
Michael Sunday Evening Scotch, strongest shown yet, 8 out of 10. Superb, Michael.
The
Superb.
Moose loses. Jimmy Leg.
The moose is lost.
Jimmy Leg.
The moose is loosed.
Sample in the post to you, my friend.
Cheers, Jimmy.
Lynn is in as well. My wife is in playing in the quiz. She said 4 out of 10. Best, yes though. One shy of a pass mark. I'm sorry about the noise that we're making. I hope that the kids are not disturbed.
Whiskey Radar with 9 out of 10 as well. That's fantastic. What did Connor? I'm almost certain Connor's got at least 9.
Let's find Connor. Let's find the Strang. He's a lovely guy as well.
Jeremy Sims with 9 out of 10 as well. That's a great score.
Brilliant.
Jeremy Sims is in. Wow, he's in Australia.
Sims.
Jeremy, great to have you in.
Yep, Jeremy Sims completely blind answering. Not sure if lucky.
Or is it the way forward? 9 out of 10. Let's go with
James Hope as well. But mind you, he is the man of hard quizzes.
He's a canny man.
He is indeed.
James Hope's a canny man. Jules, that's Triquetra's wife, Jules.
What did Triquetra get? Did Jules beat Triquetra?
Probably.
Oof.
Sorry, Stuart.
Whiskey Radar. We already said Whiskey Radar.
Emil Oliver, not good score. He had at least one first answer correctly. Keep coming, big guy. Keep coming. You'll always
Gray got
improve.
9 out of 10 as well.
Food Quig did as well. Nice one.
Is Quig in?
Yep.
6 out of 10. Quig. Let's raise a glass to Quig.
Let's say it.
But you know how to raise a glass to Quig, right?
Yeah, that's it. Something like that.
Cheers, big guy.
That's it.
Cheers, Food Quig.
All the best
Cheers.
when it comes. I had this big speech how I wanted to leave, but I think I got the message across that it's all about community. It's all about meeting up in real life. It's all about letting whiskey lead you in a responsible and canny way, and just enjoy it.
Yeah.
Enjoy getting together with people. Enjoy events. Try to step outside your comfort zone a wee bit sometimes.
Yeah.
Maybe have the brass neck to phone up and say, "Can I come out and drink with you tonight?"
That's true.
Maybe just say, "Do you know what? Listen to some guys out in Indianapolis encouraging 2 guys in Glasgow to hook up together."
Absolutely.
Just go with it.
Yeah, go with it.
I would like to thank everybody for making 2019 the best whiskey year I've had to date, and I sincerely hope that 2020 can be. And I need to raise a glass to John Paul van der Hoven and say it was a good year, Roy. Thanks and see you soon. Hopping over to the dummies now. Good for you.
Well done, John
everybody
Paul.
does the same thing. I'm worried that I've forgotten so many things, and I have. But I talked about Era's birthday. I talked about the Bimber thing, and it's been fun.
Era was there.
The time has gone. Put into the best screen. Sorry, of course she's right. Look, silly. There we go. We're talking to them from the such a lack of professionalism at the end. Okay, we've got a couple of minutes before the dummies go live. I hope you go on and enjoy the stream with Scottish Test Dummies and all the wonderful folk they're having. And of course, we are now. Thank you. Do you want to come in?
Oh, no, she's off. She's wiring into that Strathila 40 to be
the one that you smashed.
That's the one, yeah.
Absolutely.
And I hope you go on to enjoy your time with Ben and Sean over at Bourbon Junkies. And if anybody's going to pick up the baton after them guys, then fantastic. Thank you so much for 2019, my barflies, my friends, my fantastic whiskey community. I want to raise a glass and say thank you. Here, take this.
All right.
I have no idea what's in it.
I'm going to pour the tan.
No, you just have this.
Oh, no, that's it.
Whatever that is, I'm not even sure what it is. Just raise a glass and say thank you, whiskey. Honestly,
thank you, whiskey, and also
thank you, whiskey.
Thank you, Roy, for inviting us around tonight to drink all your whiskey.
Thank you, Roy.
Well, there's a lot of damage still to be done, right?
Yeah.
Let's hang out with the boys in the live stream when we can watch.
And as Gregor said last week, the glue, this guy keeps us all together. All the best for 2020 from me.
Absolutely.
You guys are all wonderful. I look forward to hanging out with you in 2020. Thank you for all your support. Weekly vPubs in December, they were good. I loved them.
Fantastic.
Take care, everyone. Slán Siva.
Slán Siva, barflies.
Sorry, pause the music. Daniel Whittington. You know who Daniel Whittington is? I have to tell you. Just drops in with like an almighty, like the mother of all virtual drams. My God. I'll share it with these boys tonight, Daniel. Sorry, Scotch Test Dummies.
That's unbelievable.
Coming in and blowing the place up at the last minute. I don't get to spend much time with Daniel when I'm over there in Texas, but he always makes an effort to hang out. And he made a very special effort to bring me a Deanston, and he brought it directly down to me in the YouTube courtyard.
Brilliant.
That's the class of what we're talking about here. Thank you, Daniel, for everything that you've done. You continue to do, and thank you so much for that generous virtual bottle or two. Thank you, Daniel. Set this music again. Slán Siva.